Welcome to the Volley Cell. Thank you for joining me. This is a three-part live pertaining to a fifth suspect arrested in the Kansas mom's double homicide in Oklahoma. Marquette Johnson, ex-prison guard who transported women from state to state. He's been accused of sexual assault against inmates. He has been sentenced to 30 years. And Sade Robinson. It has now been said that her blood was not found inside of Maxwell Anderson's home. So the question is, whose blood is it? And where was she unalived? And are there more victims? Thank you for joining me.
And breaking today, a fifth suspect has been arrested following the death of two Kansas mothers. We want to get to KOCO's Jason Berger in our newsroom. Jason, you've been following this story, so break down what happened in the Oklahoma Panhandle today.
Yeah, guys, we just got these new details from OSBI. A man by the name of Paul Grice was taken into custody. He faces charges for first-degree murder. Here's the latest. Grice is now the fifth suspect arrested in connection to the deaths of Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. OSBI says 31-year-old Grice was arrested and booked into the Texas County Jail on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree. Both Butler and Kelly went missing on March 30th and were found dead in rural Texas County on April 14th. Court documents say Grice, along with 4 other suspects already in custody, were part of a group called God's Misfits, and they were allegedly part of the effort to kill Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. Now, we're working to get more details on his arrest as this investigation unfolds in Texas County. From our newsroom, Jason Berger, KOCO 5 News.
All right, everybody, that's my first update. And Mr. Paul Grice, 31 years of age, Caucasian male, a part of a misfits group. Is he the one that started the group? How long has the group been in existence? Where did they meet? How did they all come together? And how did Miss Tiffany Adams maneuver her way into the lives of these people to talk them into murdering Veronica and Miss Jillian? As I brought you information last night during a live pertaining to this case, I do believe the social worker has some explaining to do, because during that live last night, I was astounded at just what I was thinking and spewing off my own tongue pertaining to her asking, or telling rather, the social worker not to show up. There's something bizarre about that information. And I think it needs more investigation, because there's something stinks, and something stinks bad. Besides all these people being involved and going along with this crime, the social worker has some explaining to do. And I don't want to hear he said, she said. I want to hear from her. Why didn't she go on the trip? Because I'd like to know if she is in the pocket of Miss Adams. Did they know each other? Did they hang out? Did she listen at he said, she said about Veronica and rode the ride and didn't show up deliberately so as somebody else went? Is she also knowledgeable of this double homicide? Because if you can get this many people involved, you already have 4 arrested. He makes number 5, as I've said before in my past live streams. The daughter had knowledge. That's 6. I believe the grandmother had knowledge. That's 7. I also believe the son knew. That's 8. How many more people are we talking about? So why not add a social worker to the bunch? Stay woke. Everybody's hee-hawing around, friends with each other, knows of each other. There's something off with this social worker story. Because the social worker not showing up and another person taking her place is odd to me, because the answer that was given is by Miss Tiffany, allegedly. Don't know if this is true or not. This is just what has been said. But she should be the one orchestrating the visits, Tiffany Adams. The social workers are the ones that are supposed to be verifying who's coming and who's not, and why, and giving a verified explanation. Oh, you're not going to bring the kids to meet the mother? Why not? Are you sick? Are they sick? See, that's why I know there's something off here. So I need verification of why the worker did not show up and why Jillian was the alternate person to go. Because I'm trying to wrap around my head. Please don't tell me this woman has orchestrated a way to get a worker out of showing up, which makes no sense because the worker came from Kansas, I'm assuming, with Miss Butler. So how would this woman here be able to wrangle her way into deciding who comes on a trip? So something's off here. Something's very off. Mr. Grice is younger than all the people involved in the storyline that have been arrested. He is suspect number 5. People are questioning why it took so long to arrest him. When you first went and questioned him, I don't know. Maybe he decided to talk. Maybe he decided to go in the witness protection program. I don't know. I've looked him up on Facebook. He looks like everybody else in America, a white man taking pictures with his family. But the point is, you don't know him. So anybody else that wants to jump up on News Nation or Court TV or the local news and talk about how everybody is nice in Kansas or Oklahoma, nobody cares. Because so far you've got 5 people arrested. So you can't just keep saying, these are good people here in Oklahoma. Well, you got 5 good people that have been arrested. You got a 16-year-old that had knowledge and she never went to the police either. You have a grandmother, she knew something. She didn't tell it. So then you got to ask about the son who's in rehab. What did he know? Because it's convenient that he goes into rehab 8 days beforehand, before the women go missing. So you really don't know who all knew of the plan. And obviously, everybody that knew held the secret because nobody turned anybody in. How long has Mr. Grice known these people? What is his relationship with all the people that have been arrested, all 4 suspects? Is he related to any of them? Who started this misfits group? And don't you find it strange he's the youngest of the crew? So what are we talking about? We got a baby cult leader? What are we talking about? Because they're all evenly yoked in nonsense. And I won't doubt that they are probably just a bunch of racist folks that don't do nothing but sit around and hee-haw and spew venom all day, chewing tobacco, drinking 7-Up. Not 7-Up, but Mountain Dew. Forgot because Mountain Dew's a country drink. Because people here in the South love it. But seriously, that's what I think of. Just a bunch of rednecks sitting around, mad at the world. They're mad at everybody, Iranian, Jew, black, Mexican. They don't care. They got a problem with everybody. They got a problem with the president. They got a problem with the governor. They got a problem with this person. It wouldn't matter who they are. They would have a problem with them. And you have a lot of people walking around like this. They're mad at the world. They're mad at everybody. And frankly, they don't like their own damn race. You can best believe there are white people right there in Oklahoma they have a problem with. We got information about the judge who was handling the custody case that he or she was a target. That they knew the route that the judge took. Was the judge next on the list? And why was the judge not harmed? Is it because they got arrested or they got spooked or they changed their mind or the judge was on the list? They were just waiting on the right moment to pounce? Or was it either or situation? Get the judge or get Veronica? Which is it? I don't know. Next subject is prisoner transport guard sentenced to 30 years for raping inmates. Going to put a poll up pertaining to this information. Should he have gotten more time? Because right now, the allegations are very winded pertaining to this African-American male. Thank you for joining me. KOB4 is the source.
It's just not. It's not a punishment or reasonable for a human being to be raped because they are accused of a crime.
Today, the man who was supposed to keep women safe instead found out that he's going to be in a federal prison for the next 30 years. Marquette Johnson admitted to raping 3 women in his custody, one of them while passing through Bernalillo County.
But the federal investigation identified a dozen other alleged victims. Brittany Costello joins us from the federal courthouse downtown with what all she's learned here. The judge told Johnson today he violated the public trust with people who could not protect themselves, saying there's nothing worse, before handing down the max sentence.
Marquette Johnson was a prisoner transport guard working for Inmate Services Corporation. In 2019, he was using these vans to pick up and drop off inmates across the country. But First Assistant U.S. Attorney for New Mexico, Holland Castron, says he was doing a lot more than that.
Johnson was calculated. He proactively sought out and created opportunities to be alone with these women that he transported.
In December, Johnson admitted to raping 3 inmates in his custody, but investigators know of a dozen others. One woman says he threatened her with a gun. She was assaulted in 2019 near the Metropolitan Detention Center in Albuquerque after he dropped off other inmates. Attorney Laura Shower Ives represents her. We talked to her in December.
It's never like a punishment or reasonable for a human being to be raped because they are accused of a crime.
Tuesday, Johnson was back in federal court where he was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
While this sentence cannot undo the emotional and physical trauma that Mr. Johnson caused TP and these other victims, it will ensure that Johnson spends decades in prison.
But there are more questions about other victims, whether Inmate Services Corporation did enough to protect inmates, and who will hold those private companies accountable. The U.S. Attorney's Office wouldn't speak to that.
We, as well as DOJ, are exploring our options within our authorities to address and prevent the future exploitation of vulnerable victims like these.
We encourage survivors to find the courage to come forward and report these crimes to the FBI.
Brittany Costello, KOB4.
All right, everybody. That's my second subject for the hour. Let's give you a little background on Mr. Marquette Johnson. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live. Feel free to hit the link in the chat if you'd like to come onto the panel to give your opinion pertaining to the 3 subjects at hand. Thank you. Once again, 5th person arrested in the murders of the Kansas moms, Jillian and Veronica, and Mr. Paul Grice, who was a person of interest questioned a week or so ago. He is now in custody and arrested for the murder of these women. Lot going on. We'll also bring you some updates pertaining to breaking news. Okay, 1 second, please. Movie of the week, Serenity. Now free on the Roku channel. Second suggestion of the week is The Dirty South. It is also free on YouTube and Roku if you're interested. The Dirty South and also Serenity. Thank you for joining me. Looking for my information pertaining to this guy. Hold on 1 second, everybody. TikTok ban has passed through the House of Representatives. If ByteDance does not sell the company within the time frame allotted by the United States government, it will be banned in the United States if the Senate takes the vote, passes the vote, everybody. For some reason, I can't find my story. 1 second. Well, this is bizarre. All right. News 9 is the source, everybody. Marquette Johnson, a former private prisoner transport guard who repeatedly sexually abused female pretrial detainees, was sentenced to 30 years in prison for violating the civil rights of a woman he raped at gunpoint during a 2019 prisoner transport between New Mexico and Colorado. A transportation officer, Marquette Johnson, had one job: to transport me safely, said the victim, who asked to be identified only by her initials, TP, in a statement read to the court. Instead, the defendant raped me, forcing himself on me and putting a gun to my face. He took what was not his to take, and I will never be the same. Johnson, 44, of West Memphis, Arkansas, worked as a driver and guard for Inmate Services Corp., ISC. He admitted in his plea deal to raping 2 other women in addition to TP during prisoner transports. So we now learned that he got a plea deal. So obviously he would have gotten possibly more time had he not taken the plea. That is the question that I do have on my community page. Should he have gotten more time for this sexual assault? Please take the poll, everybody. All right. So once again, he admitted in his plea deal to raping 2 other women in addition to TP during prisoner transports. So now we're talking about 3 women. So he only got 30 years. So that's just 10 years per victim. Is that sufficient? 10 years per victim. Federal investigators identified a total of 15 victims from multiple states that Johnson subjected to various forms of sexual assault. 2 of those women testified at his sentencing, and others, including TP, sent in victim impact statements asking the court to impose the greatest sentence possible. There is no sentence this court can give you that will erase the trauma you've caused me, wrote TP, whose statement was read aloud by her attorney. You violated the public trust with people who could not protect themselves, said federal judge Kia Riggs, as she sentenced Johnson to the maximum 30 years allowed under the plea agreement. There is nothing worse. Johnson came under investigation in 2019 when TP was picked up at the Santa Fe, New Mexico jail to be transported on a warrant to Delta County, Colorado. According to court records, she was loaded into a white van that held 3 male detainees. Now, let's ask that question. Should women detainees be on a van with male detainees? One, we're going to assume that they're going to be shackled by the ankles, possibly shackled by the waist, and shackled by the hands, either in front of them or behind them. Don't know. More comfortable in front of you, of course. But should these women have been on the van with men, vice versa? I find this very strange. So, the van stopped in Albuquerque to drop off 3 men, leaving her alone with the guards. A few minutes later, around 5:50 a.m., the van stopped at a gas station with attached Carl's Jr. restaurant. The other guard went inside to buy breakfast, and that's when Johnson ordered TP into the back row of the van and climbed in after her. He removed her ankle restraints and loosened her handcuffs, leaving her belly chain in place. TP told the guard that she was unsure what was going on, but that she did not want to do this. Now, most would say, well, I think you knew what was going on. The fact that he would put you in the back of the van, it was not going to be a chit-chat. Just saying. In response, Johnson pulled out a short black gun, rested it on his lap, and told TP that he wanted her to cooperate. Otherwise, it was going to get ugly. Now, what did he mean by that? What were you going to do, beat her? You're already attempting to sexually assault her, so what you going to do, beat her? She doesn't comply? Wow. He then raped her while holding his gun against her cheek, she said. Afterwards, he ordered her to quickly pull up her pants. She was still doing so when the other guard came back with the breakfast burritos. The other guard got in the driver's seat, and Johnson stayed in the back row with TP. Now, how long were they back there while this guy is driving and or sitting eating his burrito? Or was he eating his burrito while driving? We also want to know, will this other driver be charged as well? Did he keep the same person with him on these trips to different states? Because this is baffling. That this driver, the other guard is coming back with the food and sees that he's in the back seat with the inmate and does nothing. Stay woke, everybody. This is really bad. Okay. In her statement to the court, TP wrote, "Please put yourself in my shoes. My life flashed before my eyes. I felt a gun pressed to my head. There was a heavy body on top of me, penetrating me without my consent. On top of it all, the defendant had the audacity to put a piece of paper in my back pocket and say, 'Here's my number. Call me when you get out.'" Wow. So he gave her his number. When dropped off at the Delta County Jail, TP told the booking officer about the attack and requested a rape kit. DNA from that rape kit was matched to Johnson after federal investigators served a search warrant on him. The FBI investigation would discover TP was far from being alone. A history of rape. When the FBI began investigating, they identified 14 other women with eerily similar accounts of TP. They revealed Johnson sexually assaulted them while they were being transported on out-of-state warrants. 6 of those women said they were attacked after TP reported being raped by Johnson. When FBI agents served a search warrant on ISC headquarters in Arkansas, they discovered the company had received warning about Johnson's behavior toward female detainees prior to TP's attack. So how many people called in allegations against Mr. Johnson before TP filed a complaint? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 13, 15, 20? How many? And why wasn't anything done? And will there be repercussions of any supervisors who were handling his employment? And will there be repercussions for the person who rode on the van with Mr. Johnson, the other guard? Because I asked this question the other day. How was he doing this as one driver? And now we learn there was another guard as well on the van. Okay. So once again, the company had received warning about Johnson's behavior prior to TP's attack. 8 months before TP was transported, Johnson picked up a young woman named Laura in Indianapolis to be taken to Munfordville, Kentucky. Laura was 6 months pregnant. According to the federal criminal case against Johnson, when the van stopped at a rest stop, Johnson told the woman, "Damn, girl, I didn't get to see you when they picked you up, but I see you now." After all the other detainees were dropped off, Laura was alone in the van with the guards. Johnson then climbed into the back bench row beside the woman, removed her handcuffs, and began pawing at her, rubbing her shoulders and upper thigh, telling her he was attracted to her and had never been with a pregnant girl. He then repeatedly asked if he could use her belly as a pillow. Wow, let's see. Laura repeatedly said no. Johnson swore at her and then climbed back into the front of the van. So, did he sexually assault her or he didn't? Because here it doesn't seem like he did. I'm not sure. I'd like to also know that the other guard, did he also sexually assault any of the women on the trips? Because I haven't heard a mention of that. When she was dropped off in Kentucky, Laura told a jailer what had happened. She was instructed to write a statement which the jail sent to the transport company. Federal investigators found that statement recounting how Johnson inappropriately touched Laura inside ISC headquarters when they served the search warrant. See, where there's a problem here with this information is that when the woman went to the jailer and told the jailer, the jail supervisor or sheriff or whoever was over the jail, whether city jail or county or whoever, they should have contacted state police or the police in the jurisdiction in where they are, and also another state. Because just contacting his job, that doesn't mean anything. It's up to the job to decide if they wanted to file charges and send it into their local police department, because he worked out of Arkansas, but he traveled other states picking up inmates. So it was up to you all where the women came. You should have filed reports in your jurisdiction and possibly state police and so on and so forth. Frankly, it's federal because you're going from place to place dealing with inmates. This should have been, the FBI should have been involved, quite frankly. That's where these jails dropped the ball by just calling the company that he worked for, because they turned a blind eye. So frankly, you all should have been calling your local state government and or FBI to say you have a guard transporting females and sexually assaulting them while on shift. So everybody, to me, is to blame here. All right. Now, once again, she got dropped off in Kentucky, and she told the jailer what happened. She was instructed to write a statement, which the jail sent to the transport company. Federal investigators found that statement recounting how Johnson inappropriately touched Laura inside ISC headquarters when they served the search warrant. So see, I'm surprised that they even found the statement, quite frankly, the investigators. When individuals working in an official capacity violate the trust of their communities by abusing that power, they undermine the hard work of all officials, said Special Agent in Charge Raul Buhanda of the FBI Albuquerque field office. The despicable actions perpetrated by Johnson against those he was entrusted to protect have no place in society. Following the assaults, Johnson gave at least 8 of his victims pieces of paper with his phone number. Prosecutors claim he did so as a reminder that he existed outside of the jail walls and that he was still out there waiting. So what is this comment supposed to mean? He's out there waiting for what? Waiting to do something to them if they open their mouths? Or waiting for them to contact him because he wants some sex? Help me understand. Maybe I'm a little green today. A joint investigation by sister stations KARE 11 in Minneapolis and 9 News exposed how Johnson's case is part of a nationwide failure to provide oversight of the shadowy industry of private companies contracted to transport prisoners across the country. The reporting found the failure to regulate, both federally and by individual states, is fueling a systematic pattern of rape and abuse. These concerns were seemingly echoed by a high-ranking member of the Department of Justice following Marquette Johnson's sentencing. This sentence shines a light on the private prisoner transport industry that countless law enforcement agencies across this country rely on to transport people who are arrested on warrants outside their jurisdiction. And Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark in the Justice Department Civil Rights Division in a recorded statement. These private companies often operate in the shadows of our criminal justice system, where some officers have seized the opportunity to physically and sexually abuse vulnerable victims in their custody. This sentence highlights the abuses of this industry, the bravery of the victims who came forward to report that abuse, and our commitment to seeing justice done for these victims, Clark said. The loophole. The Interstate Transportation of Dangerous Criminals Act, also known as that provides guidelines for standards for the niche industry of private companies ferrying prisoners. It was passed in 2000 after the killer of 11-year-old Gina North of Fargo, North Dakota, escaped from a private prisoner transport company. The act, which is supposed to be enforced by the Justice Department, is aimed at preventing prisoner escapes. However, it also sets basic training standards for guards and safety rules for the people being transported, which, if violated, can result in $10,000 fines. The act requires, among other things, background checks for guards that include fingerprinting, a minimum of 100 hours of training, a female guard for female prisoners, and specialized training in the area of sexual harassment. Following Johnson's sentencing, First Assistant U.S. Attorney Holland Castro declined to comment when asked in a press conference why ISC has not been charged with violating provisions of Gina's act, including failing to have a female guard and do the required training. It's a glaring example of how, for the private transport companies, violating Gina's act carries little risk. The law has been used just once in 2013 to penalize a transport company that allowed a convicted sex offender to escape in North Dakota from an unlocked van. In the 24 years the act has been in existence, the Justice Department has failed to take a single action to enforce the training and safety standards. Why not? The federal law has what legal experts describe as a major loophole. Gina's act specifically says the standards only apply to companies transporting violent prisoners. There are no federal protections for nonviolent people like each of the women sexually victimized by Marquette Johnson. Lawsuits and reforms. Danielle Civils of St. Paul, Minnesota, filed a federal lawsuit which claims Johnson repeatedly sexually assaulted her in the rest stop bathrooms and then began contacting her while she was in prison, serving time for probation violations. So here we have a man pulling over to rest stops, sexually assaulting the women on the van, off the van, in bathrooms, How did he walk into a bathroom with an inmate? Please, somebody explain to me. So is this the rest stop where they have the bathroom on the side of the building and you go in to get the key, they give you the key, and then you go to the restroom, unlock the door, come back out, bring the key back in? Did he assault the woman at that type of rest stop? That's the only way this would work to me in a rest stop. This makes no damn sense to me. This is crazy to me. Okay. And the fact that he's calling, it says here, contacting her while she was in prison. How are you contacting her in prison? By what? By letter? I know he wasn't crazy enough to show up to the jail. Visiting an inmate, that would be risque. Lord have mercy. This is bad. Okay, everybody. Oh, hold on one second. Lost my place. Okay. This is sick. So this woman says he repeatedly, Danielle Sable said he repeatedly assaulted her in rest stop bathrooms. So that's plural. And then began contacting her while she was in prison, serving time for probation violations. Civil's attorneys Paul Applebaum and Megan Curtis claimed Ramsey County failed to do basic due diligence when they awarded Johnson's employer, Inmate Services, ISC, to contract to transport inmates. Carrie Levin exposed that ISC was operating illegally without a license in Minnesota. Wow, that's interesting. It also tied the company and 5 of its guards to 21 sex assault allegations in the last 10 years, where there's already been a lawsuit, criminal charges, or conviction. In Minnesota, House of Representatives voted unanimously to pass reform measures drafted by Representative Brad Tapke to revoke or refuse licenses to companies whose employees have committed sex crimes or used excessive force. So that's a good thing. The company decides they want to barter with the jailing system. If they do the background check to show that anybody that has worked for them has a prior conviction or allegation of sexual assault, they don't use that company. That's a good idea. A vote is expected soon in the Senate. To date, Colorado has taken no action. ISC's owner, Randy Cagle, refused to respond to questions, offering only profanity and threats during a phone call after a reporter knocked on the door of his Tennessee home and left a business card. Well, I'll be darned. Of all states for him to live in, good old Tennessee. ISC appears to have gone out of business as lawsuits mount against the company by the sexual assault victims. In sentencing Marquette Johnson, Judge Riggs said TP's bravery put an end to his reign of terror. If you have any videos you'd like to watch, they have something called Investigations in Crime. Wow, what a story. 9 News, NBC is the source. So we have a black male by the name of Marquette Johnson, 44, sentenced to 30 years for sexual assaults. He abused a female and was sentenced to 30 years for violating the civil rights of a woman that he raped at gunpoint during a 2019 transport between New Mexico and Colorado. Wow, wow, wow. Johnson, 44, West Memphis, Arkansas, worked as a driver and guard for Inmate Services Corp. ISC. He admitted in his plea deal to raping 2 other women, in addition to TP during prisoner transports. He is only getting a 30-year plea deal. Wow, what a hot butter mess. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is conversation number 2. I brought you information pertaining to Mr. Paul Grice. He has been arrested as the 5th suspect in the Oklahoma Misfits debacle. As most of you know, he was questioned and he was not arrested at the time. Well, he has now been arrested. It is breaking news. Subject number 2 is pertaining to Mr. Marquette Johnson out of West Memphis, Arkansas. He was working for a transport company based in Arkansas, and he is now in prison doing 30 years for sexual assault of an inmate. And he also admitted during that plea deal of assault two other women. They have at least 15 other women who have come forward to complain of sexual allegations against Mr. Johnson. I assume he will be very busy going to court with other allegations. I'm sure this company is no longer in existence with allegations and lawsuits. And what I find so sickening is that the man who owned the company can only think to curse out a reporter who's just doing her job by asking questions about the allegations. That shows me the reason why the men were never brought to justice in the first place is because the owner didn't give a you-know-what. The supervisor didn't give a you-know-what. That's just the bottom line. So that's the reason why we have these type of crimes, because it's a stair step of abusers working in the system of the company. So it never gets anywhere, the allegation. The women get assaulted. They go to the jail to complain. Then the jailers or whoever works the jail, they call the company, but the company, their rank. Obviously, the supervisor's working a rank. The owner, he's ranked. So nothing's done. And then you're sitting here talking about 5 people working for the company, a company where they've got these type of men working. That's why I said when I heard the story the other day, I said, well, how is he riding these women or people around as one driver? Now we learn, okay, it's 2 guards on the bus, on the van, and we got one just turning a blind eye, allegedly, while this dirty MF is back here screwing the women. I won't be surprised he's gotten somebody pregnant. I won't be surprised if he's passed diseases or the women have passed diseases with each other. This is bad, bad, bad. We've already heard of improprieties in jails and prisons. Guards sleeping with the inmates. Women guards sleeping with the male inmates. Men guards sleeping with the female inmates. We've heard of women getting pregnant in the prisons and jails. We've heard of guards, women guards getting pregnant by the inmates. But this is ridiculous. This is sexual assault. You're supposed to be taking these women and men to their destination, not pulling over at rest stops and having sex with them in the back of the van and in bathrooms. This is horrible. Last subject of the hour is pertaining to Sade Robinson. God rest her soul. This is some dirty business coming out of Milwaukee, everybody. Blood has been found in his house. Mr. Maxwell Anderson, who's in custody, and they're saying that it's not belonging to her. So now we got to ask, where was she unalived? Where was she dismembered? Whose blood is in the house? Allegedly blood on the wall. As I put it in the chat the other day, is this blood that's old or was it wet when they went to the scene? Because that's how you're going to determine how old, if it's a newer crime. So that's why I asked that question. Was it old blood, dried, or wet blood? Because if it's wet, then that means he killed somebody recently, like at the moment or within hours or so of going to the scene. So where did he unalive Miss Robinson? This is deep. Because the first thing I thought to myself, I said, I know damn well this fool ain't unalived her out in public and dismembered her. So I just assumed he did it at the house because they said there was a trail coming in or out of the home. Then you got the phone pings. You got CCTV footage of her car leaving his house. Which one's going to deduct? He's in the car. So please don't tell me that he took her car and her, possibly with her whole body, and then what? Cut her up in the car? And then bagged the body parts and threw them out in different places and then set the car on fire? Because that's the only way I can look at this. At this point, if you're going to tell us now that you have checked the house and checked the blood and done DNA on the blood stains, smears, and it's not coming back to Sade, it ain't coming back to Mr. Anderson, then that means he's unalived her somewhere out here in this damn street. So then you got to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't he kill her and dismember her at his damn house? So he just took her back there to do what? Sex, torture, kill her, then put her in a car and unalive her out in the street? That doesn't make any sense. let's get down to business, everybody. Court TV is the source of this gruesome information. If you have a problem with the content, feel free to remove yourself out of the chat. Thank you very much. Prayers to the family. They have put a pink out at his house. His house is decorated with pink ribbons and things left behind by citizens to celebrate her life. Last week, a torso and a leg, if I'm not mistaken, came up on shore, Lake Michigan. How many body parts are out there? And where are they? Boats with sonar have been on the water last weekend to look for the remains of Sade Robinson. And as her mother said to him and the public, he picked the wrong victim and the wrong family because they are not going to give up in finding all of her body parts and bringing justice home for their loved one. Thank you for joining me.
Say her blood was not inside Maxwell Anderson's house. Plus, we're breaking down Tuesday's big hearing for OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny as her attorneys join us on the show live. It's all coming up next for you, plus much more right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you, and thanks for waking up with us here on Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and court? We sure are. We've got a great show planned for you this morning. Going to get you all primed and ready to go for the cases we're covering at trial and the ones that just have us talking in the world of true crime. So right now, why don't you go ahead and grab that cup of coffee because it's time for my opening statement. Whose blood is it? Whose blood was left on the bedding and on the walls leading to the basement in Maxwell Anderson's home? That's the question investigators at the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department are trying to answer this morning. Prosecutors say that lab testing on the blood showed them that it doesn't belong to Sade Robinson. So what does this mean for the case? In my opinion, I'll tell you, my friends, it doesn't diminish the murder case against that guy one bit. Let's remember, not all murders are bloody, right? Think about it. We see this all the time in court TV. People can be strangled to death. People can be suffocated to death, and blood wouldn't be found at a location where the murder happened, right? Also, the dismemberment could have occurred near where her remains were found. It didn't necessarily have to happen at the house. Let's bear that in mind if he did what police say he did. I read through that criminal complaint thoroughly. The case against Maxwell Anderson is very strong. Police have video evidence of him, cell phone evidence of him, eyewitnesses who saw him. They have all of this information to prove that he is the guy who murdered beautiful Sade Robinson. And then they say he dismembered her and set fire to her car to cover it up. So now the question really becomes this morning, do investigators think the blood that doesn't belong to Sade is evidence of a crime against somebody else? Where will that blood lead them? I mean, let's think about it. Who lives in a house with blood on the walls? Really? Who does that? How did it get there? And what I really want to know is what is down in that guy's basement? Because I've read some local reporting that this guy had a sex dungeon in his basement. Police have not publicly confirmed that, but it certainly makes me wonder. I'm sure it does you too. I hope and pray that if there were other people harmed in that home, that police will be able to solve their cases too, just as I believe they have already solved Sade Robinson's murder. May she get justice, the justice that she deserves, and may her family find some bit of comfort in knowing how many people care about Sade Robinson and about seeing her killer punished to the fullest extent of the law. That's my opening statement on this Wednesday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, I want to give you what's on your daily docket.
Okay, so that was this morning's commentary. Thank you, Ms. Grant. So Where was she unalive? I'm going to my community page now. Feel free to comment under the post to give your opinion. Where was she unalive? Because I'm confused now. One second, everybody. The link is in the chat if you want to give your opinion on the 3 subject matters at hand. Help this content go viral. Join the panel and give your opinion. Thank you very much. One second, everybody. Posting a poll. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. This is some bizarre information here. The poll I'm posting is Sade Robinson's blood was not in Maxwell Anderson's home. So where was she killed? Your options are in her car, in the park, beach, lake area, not sure. Feel free to take the poll. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Oh, wow. This is just very baffling information. Should Marquette Johnson have been sentenced to more than 30 years in prison? 80% yes, 20% no. 5 votes. Once again, Mr. Grice has been arrested in the double homicide of Jillian and Veronica in Oklahoma. He was one of the men who was questioned, and now he's been formally arrested. You're now hearing content pertaining to Sade Robinson. And also, I meant to tell you that the celebration of life for Miss Jillian Kelly was 5 days ago, if you need verification of that information. Just bringing you the latest updates pertaining to breaking news. Madeline Solo update. Stephon Stearns has been charged with the murder of the young girl, that was uploaded 3 hours ago. Fox 35 Orlando is the source. There has been a shooting in Arlington, Texas at a high school. If you need verification, Fox 4 Dallas is the source of that information. And also a cold case has been solved in West Virginia. And NBC News has that case. June is vastly approaching, and it will mark 3 years that Summer Wells went missing here in East Tennessee. Will her case ever be solved or an arrest? 27% yes, 45% no, 27% not sure. So it's a tie between yes and not sure at 27%. Also, there's new news coming out pertaining to Megan Thee Stallion. Photog says he worked for Megan Thee Stallion, a photographer, for 4 years, and he received low wages, didn't get paid for the work he had done, and that he witnessed Megan Thee Stallion performing a sex act with another woman inside of an SUV where he was trapped and couldn't get out a few years ago in Spain. He was fired soon after. She told him not to tell anybody. I think he complained to her about situations of his work situation with her, I guess not getting paid, so on and so forth. He is now suing her. Is it the truth or are these lies that he's spinning just for a payday? 27% truth, 45% lies, 27% not sure. So once again, we got a tie again at 27% of truth and not sure. Tennessee has now passed a bill that is allowing teachers to carry guns inside of school buildings. Was this a right or wrong decision made by the governor? 60% right, 40% wrong, 0% not sure. Movie of the week, The Dirty South. And the other movie of the week is Serenity. Serenity is playing on the Roku channel. And The Dirty South, you can watch it either on YouTube or the Roku channel. Thank you. Thank you so very much. As most of you have probably heard this story about a driver, 66-year-old white woman, who has been accused of murdering 2 children at a birthday party. She was inebriated when she slammed into a building where the birthday party was being held. Her bond has been set at $1.5 million. WTOL 11 News is the source of that said information. I asked you all a day ago, why didn't the Oklahoma Misfits unalive the judge? And you answered. 49% didn't get to because they got arrested. Changed their minds, 15%. Not sure, 36%. Was the judge the next target for the Oklahoma Misfits? 78% yes, 2% no, 20% not sure. Kevin Franke is suing Jody Hildebrandt for emotional distress. Does he have a case? 58% yes, 32% no, 11% not sure. I've got 2 comments. User by 6LS says he is guilty of not protecting his children and intervening. He looked the other way. He's guilty too for apathy. The Queen replied, yes, he is. 100% thumbs up emoji. My content yesterday was pertaining to NBA young boy. He's been arrested in Utah on prescription drug fraud, and he also had he was on house arrest from Louisiana on weapons charges. So he will possibly be sent back to Louisiana to face those charges, and also the current prescription drug charges, identity fraud, pretending to be somebody with different names, birthdays, so on and so forth. I believe 2 other women were also arrested in conjunction to this fraud of prescription drugs. He's put himself in a pickle. Please check out that content because I go at length talking about his life. He's 24 years of age. He has 11 children, 9 or 10 baby mamas. He's got a lot going on and he needs to get himself together because this isn't the life that a young man should want to lead, but to each its own. The House of Representatives have passed a bill to ban TikTok in the United States. If ByteDance does not sell the company within a year, is this a good decision? 60% yes, 20% no, 20% not sure. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. And please check out my latest video on Sebastian Rogers. His father has hired PIs, claiming he doesn't want any more people involved in the case that have high egos. And I said, do the close, tell the story. I might play some of that content during this live stream. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. If you want to give your public opinion pertaining to the 3 subject matters at hand during this live stream and the updates I've mentioned and the polls, feel free to hit the link in the chat. You can hit the link by computer or phone or iPad. It will guide you up. You do not have to show yourself to give your opinion. Help this content go viral and sustain the longevity of the live stream by hitting the link to give your opinion. Let's hear what is being said again about Miss Sade Robinson. It's very bizarre information.
New filings. So that's the latest in the Peterson case. We'll share more developments on that as they come in. We've got to turn now back to the death of Sade Robinson and the major news that her blood has not been found in suspect Maxwell Anderson's home.
The preliminary DNA analysis supports the conclusion that there is no support for inclusion of Robinson's DNA in the blood or swabs that have been tested.
So before we get let Julie finish her commentary, where is this going? Because 9 times out of 10, they've also tested the DNA of Mr. Maxwell Anderson against the blood. Because a lot of times when people are unaliving people using knives, swords, saws, they will cut themselves. So I would assume they did their DNA testing before coming to court to bring us information that this DNA does not match her. So let's use deduction and some kind of common sense. Her body parts are floating around. Her body parts are hanging around in parks. But no blood visible in his house says she was there and dead. Is this a good cleanup job by Mr. Maxwell? Because allegedly blood was coming in and out of the home when they went to investigate. So you mean to tell me he was stupid enough to leave blood outside, but cleaned up well not to have any of her blood around? So where was she killed? Blood on the walls going down the basement. This is bad. Whose blood is that? Somebody trying to crawl out? He's murdered someone down in the dungeon and he's carrying them over his shoulder and they are rubbing up against the walls. Dear God, what are we talking about here? How many more victims has he unalived down in that dungeon? What was in that dungeon? This is very, very scary information, everybody. Very, very scary. Let's finish this content.
More on these developments and the charges with Maxwell Anderson. We've got the intentional homicide charge, mutilating a corpse, all of that. This guy's facing some serious business. And we want to get the latest from Milwaukee this morning. We're so pleased to have joining us Scripps News Milwaukee correspondent Miriam McCarr. She's standing by with the very latest for us. Miriam, good morning to you.
Good morning, Julie. Just like you mentioned, the new evidence added to the criminal complaint shows that the blood found was not Anderson, it was not Robinson's, the one that was found in Anderson's walls leading to the basement. And that's really the biggest turn in this case so far.
Yeah, Miriam, when it's not hers, I think so many people went, oh my gosh, is this the right guy? Looking at the evidence, though, it was very clear to me that police have...
Well, they went on a date, so who else did it?
Testimony, video evidence, his face. There's a person who said they saw him like that.
So is that the reason why he's saying he's not guilty? So is there somebody else that lives in the house with Mr. Maxwell Anderson? It is a standard-looking bungalow-type house. So what are we saying here? If her blood is not found in the house, but you found blood on the walls, once again, as I said, was the blood wet or was the blood dry? Because that's going to determine how can I explain it? That's going to determine the time of death. Because if it's dried blood, then you got to ask yourself how long it was on the wall. If it's wet blood, then it means the death was recent of someone. Did he clean up the blood of her, but left no trail, but the blood on the wall is something dried from a long time ago? And if so, how long are we talking? And are we talking about somebody else is out here dead, discarded somewhere, either whole or dismembered, and they have not been found? Because what I'm trying to understand, why would you dismember this young lady and throw her body parts out in a park where everybody could find the body parts? It sounded like he was sending a message that he wanted to be caught. He wanted to be recognized for unaliving this African-American female. And what is so disturbing is that he has worked in the food and liquor business. All of us have eaten and drank soda pop, alcohol, and also worked in a sushi restaurant where they allegedly went on the date. How did the date go? What was the conversation on the date? Is there any part of the date where she felt unsafe, felt scared, but went along to his house anyway? Did he ask her for sex on the date? Or did he just say, hey, come back to my place, we can watch some Netflix, but he didn't have Netflix in mind? What was the conversation on the date? Did he try to touch her, grope her? Did she feel comfortable with him? Is that why she left with him? Is this an issue that the girl was soliciting herself, or he solicited her? Hey, come back with me, I'll pay you. Or she said, hey, I need some money. I'll go home with you for money. Not to be disrespectful, but these things do happen. I'm not here to judge her if she was charging for sexual deeds. I'm not here to judge that. But this is the world we live in. We have a lot of nasty ass men that all they care about is sex anyway, and they'll either ask you to have sex with them for money or not. But the gist of the story is, if he solicits her or she him, she wasn't about to get no money. And he made sure of that. But what is baffling, no blood of hers in his house. Yet her car is seen on CCTV footage leaving Mr. Maxwell's house from an alley, going to the parks, back and forth, back and forth. He was using her car to dump her body parts. So I'm thinking perhaps he cut her up in her car. Maybe that's why he burned the car. Stay woke, everybody.
Fire. The fire that burned her car and run away from it. They've got his face on video. They've got all of the different pieces of the text messaging. And something that I was unaware of until I looked at the criminal complaint was that Sade Robinson had Life 360 as well on her phone. And one of her friends brought that to police's attention. I understand they're going through that as well, aren't they?
That's absolutely right, Julie. The case against Anderson right now is fairly robust. So even though we don't know who that blood belongs to, this jury trial is still moving forward. On Monday, he waived his right to a preliminary hearing and pleaded not guilty to all of the charges he's facing against Sade Robinson, which again is first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. So next up is a scheduling conference set on May 16th where,
So why did he plead not guilty? Does he have a co-conspirator? Was there somebody else in there lying in wait, watching, gaping, peeping out of a corner or closet door? Or they were there waiting. When she got there and realized there's about to be some funny games going on down in this dungeon. The blood on the wall, wet or dried? Who does that blood belong to? Person trying to get out of there? Person hit in the head going down the stairs, or bleeding going into the basement, drugged down the basement? Scary thought. How much blood are we talking about smeared on the walls? And as Miss Julie has said in this commentary, why is it on the wall? Why didn't you clean it up, Maxwell? You're this deranged, you're going to walk by your handiwork and look at the wall. Possibly so. Didn't care. So now we got to ask ourselves, was she murdered in this home, but he did a sufficient job to clean her up? Now you hear Miss Grant saying sometimes when people are unalive, they don't leave blood. Well, one would have to say, how is that possible unless you're frozen and they weren't with each other long enough for him to freeze her body? So do the math. Why is there no blood of this young woman inside of this man's house? Where did he kill her? So let's say he strangled her, suffocated her in his house, picked her up, carried her out of his house, into her car, drove her car somewhere secluded, had a hacksaw saw, sawed her into pieces, put them in bags, and or what? Because you want me to believe he walked around in the dark with a leg or arm in his hand, not worrying about somebody seeing him. Is that what we're talking about? Because make it make sense. He set the car on fire. Why are you setting the car on fire? Because perhaps, yes, this is where he unalived her. But then you got to ask yourself, how did the body parts get from the car to the parts? You're carrying them in what? A Kroger bag? CVS bag? Or what? Just in your hand, walking around with a damn leg, arm, a torso. Don't you think somebody would notice that? Hey, what's that you got there? Oh, nothing. Just carrying a torso around. Mind your business. Stay woke, everybody.
You mentioned that jury trial against him is still moving forward.
Right, Miriam. Miriam, tell us, as you're on the ground there and you're talking to different people, we know this has shaken the Milwaukee community where you are. Sade Robinson's family devastated. It's painful to watch them and hear them and what they're saying going through this. I can't even imagine anything worse for parents to have to bury their child in this brutal way after she died. What are they saying? How are they handling this? We've heard them speak out, but it was some days ago. What's the latest that the family has shared with you all, Miriam?
As you mentioned, this has been an extremely traumatic few weeks for her loved ones, and as well as the community here who's really been shaken up by this. A vigil was just held on Friday where so many people showed up in support, and the family actually announced their plans to start a nonprofit in her honor called Sade's Voice. And they're hoping that nonprofit will help families of missing Black and brown women get some closure and just assistance during these nightmare situations. And of course, as we've mentioned before, her friends and family are still out, boots on the ground, on the shores of Lake Michigan, searching for the rest of the 19-year-old's remains. They say they won't be able to come to peace with any of this until she's properly laid to rest. So just a lot of grief still circulating the community here.
I appreciate that point as well, Miriam, about the search effort still continuing this morning. We're certainly mindful of that. Miriam McCarr, Scripps News Milwaukee correspondent, thank you kindly for joining us this morning on Opening Statements. We'll see you soon. I have a very special guest I want to bring in now, retired NYPD Sergeant, the host of the podcast True Crime with the Sarge, Joe Giacalone, is standing by in New York this morning. Joe, good morning to you. And I've got to say, when I read the news about the blood on the walls, on the comforter, not belonging to Sade Robinson, belonging to someone else, all I could think about was what you said when you were...
1 second, I'm going to interrupt her before she allows her guest to speak. This is some bizarre information. Everybody pay attention. I can't digest it all because my head is starting to spin. No blood of hers found. Was he meticulous in wiping up the crime scene? Or did he kill her there but took her somewhere else? So then you got to ask yourself, then why would he not kill her in the house? You have her there. You have privacy. We don't know if he has roommates, live with somebody else, a mother, a sister, a cousin, a girlfriend, a wife. Make it make sense, everybody. Let's put our thinking caps on. Why would he not unalive her at the house? Because if there's blood on the wall, whether it's wet or dry, it belongs to somebody. I think they would have told us it was his blood or not. Stay woke. Maybe this is why he set her car on fire. Because he killed her in her car. What fool is going to cut you up in your car? Now, we have heard of people getting shot in their car, shot through a car, window, door. But to unalive a person in the car by means of a saw, hacksaw, sword, who does this? Then you got to ask yourself, where did he park the car to do it? You're not worried about the police coming up. Hey, buddy, what you doing? Somebody walking by, what the fuck are you doing? Stay woke. Now we're hearing blood on the comforter. Oh, shut your mouth. Blood on the comforter ain't hers. You're sleeping under a bloody comforter. So now we're going from a wall to a bloody comforter. Jesus, somebody help me. I'm drowning up here. Who is Maxwell Anderson? Somebody in the chat says perhaps he has a secret place. Okay, well, where is it? Where is this secret place? Because people are going to say your secret place should have been your house. Does he have a detached garage? Bingo card. Is there a garage? Because what you have to ask yourself, why is her car going down an alley? Did he have her park her car in a detached garage that sits near the alley? Maybe he killed her in the alley. Maybe he killed her in the car, and the car was in the garage near the alley. Just using my thinking cap at the moment. Whose blood is on the walls of the sex dungeon? Whose blood is on this comforter? Who kills a person in their own damn bed and sleeps under a bloody comforter? Have you ever smelled blood before from death? Anybody in the chat? And I do not mean to be vulgar, but it is a question. I have somewhere I'm going with this. Have you ever smelled blood from a dead person? I have. I've told the story before of my cousin unaliving himself by a gunshot wound to the head and then go back into the house probably about 2 days later or so to help clean up. And the smell of iron was so thick you could taste it. And he unalived himself upstairs in his 2-bedroom townhouse. So imagine knowing he killed himself upstairs, and the first thing I smell when I walk into the doorway is his blood. That's how deep and thick blood is. So now you ask yourself, if there is blood on his own fucking comforter where he sleeps and blood is on the wall, then you're smelling that afterwards with no problem. You are deeply deranged.
On this show 2 days ago, and you said, I'm wondering if this was the first time this guy allegedly did something like this. Your thoughts when you heard the confirmation from police?
Yeah, so this is another little interesting wrinkle, and this often happens in investigations where you're investigating one thing and then all of a sudden something else pops up on you that you have to answer out. So they have to answer out whose blood this is, and we don't know the exact amount of blood, but from what they're talking about, it should be enough significance that they can see it on the way down, going down the walls. So that's an important aspect. So they need to find exactly where this event happened, and I'm leaning more towards her vehicle. Just because, her vehicle was parked at this location for, I think it was 3 hours and 19 minutes, according to the affidavit. So this could have all occurred inside that car, and another reason why it had to be burned, because there was a lot of evidence in that car. So I think that's where investigators will be pulling that thing apart, taking it right down to the metals, whatever is left over, and see if they can get any other types of forensics from it.
So you now have this man saying, what some of us are already thinking in the chat, that Sade's blood is not inside of the house because Mr. Maxwell Anderson decided to dismember her inside of her vehicle. And that's why I asked, did he have a detached garage? Because if you have never lived up north or East Coast, a lot of the houses, or most of the houses, have a detached garage in the back of the house, and it sits also close to the alley. A lot of you may not be familiar with this type of living, but this is how houses are set up north, such as Chicago, Pennsylvania, East Coast cities. You have a house in the front. You have a sidewalk between the house, the bungalows. It goes to the back where there's a detached garage. You can enter the garage from the alley. Did she park her car in a detached garage? So he had time to play funny games with the victim. Unalive her in the house, take her out to the garage, put her in the car or on the ground of a garage, dismember her, put her in bags, take her to her final resting place, or shall I say resting places, because she has been found in different locales in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And many of you remember the infamous Jeffrey Dahmer, who unalived his dates inside of his apartment. And the apartment reeked of death and macabre. And people complained, and nothing was done. Even a boy child ran out for safety, drugged. And Jeffrey pops up to say, "Oh, he's with me." And they believed him, sending the child back with the pedophile rapist slash murderer? Is this a repeat of Jeffrey Dahmer revisited? Will we find out he has unalived other women or men inside of this apartment and also dismembered them?
Exactly, Sarge. Exactly. I'm with you. That's got to be the site where the dismemberment occurred. It just has to be. And looking at the affidavit of probable cause, there was an eyewitness who just happened to be walking down the street who saw him running from the car. This person told police after he lit it on fire. And then there's some video evidence of his face in the same clothing that was described by this witness, also captured on video. This guy, he's got major legal problems on this case, and I'm thinking there are going to be more problems coming down.
Lit the victim's car on fire. Eyewitness puts Mr. Maxwell Anderson at the scene, running away from the inferno. How stupid can you be? But that is the point of true crime. There is always Big Brother. There is always an eye in the sky. There is always an eyewitness. And as you see in the case of the two women out in Kansas murdered in Oklahoma, you can also get people to go along with the crime. Help me kill this lady and a social worker. Oh, I don't mind. I'm God's misfit. I don't mind at all. You see, it's one thing to have a demon walking around, lurking in the shadows, and you have no idea that he or she is a demon. But when the demon decides to get some friends, then you most definitely have a problem. Because what is more worse than having several demons orchestrating a murder cover-up at the same damn time? That's scary as hell. You don't know people. And she did not know Mr. Maxwell Anderson. And God forbid there is another victim out there. He or she did not know Mr. Anderson as well. And that is the thing about meeting people, no matter where, your job, school, work, online dating. A face is just a face. Words are just words. But as my aunt once told me, and I've said this so many times during a live stream, that all bets are off once you shut the door. Because you thought I would play fair, I don't have to. And as she said, you might go in agreement to have sex. You may think, oh, he's coming over. We're going to do a little something. He's going to shoo, fly, shoo. But oh no, he has something else in mind. Funny games. And that is the mistake that many people, men and women, have made by going into the abyss with a stranger, going inside of their home or meeting them somewhere, hotel, their house, their own house, home, and then the devil appeared. So you may agree to say, yeah, I'll have sex with you. Sure, I don't mind. But once the door is closed, there may be something else that is waiting besides sex. Somebody wants to choke you, suffocate you, beat you up, torture you, tie you up, dismember you. After death, hell, during death. Now, how cruel would that be? To dismember a person while breathing. Very scary. Court TV is the source, everybody.
Fight for him. Sarge, I want to ask you about the sex dungeon allegations. So one of the local stations there in Milwaukee, WISN 12 News, learned from law enforcement sources that this guy had what's described as a sex dungeon in his basement. Remember, the blood is on the walls leading to the basement. Apparently they talked to a woman as well who says she knows Anderson, who claims, and this is her words, quoting directly here, quote, I got a little bit of a tour, and he was like, do you want to see the basement? I was like, no, I'm okay. He's like, it's creepy down there. I was like, no, it's okay. Do you think that the sex dungeon, if it does exist in his home, could have been perhaps a factor here in why Sade Robinson was killed?
Well, it could be, right? So we don't know exactly what transpires down that basement or not, but the blood that goes down there, you can think about some other horrific things. And if you remember, I also mentioned on Monday, too, that they need to be looking at companion cases. And I think, recovery of the rest of the remains will tell the entire story, because it could tell us exactly what the cause of death was.
Yes.
Was it a gunshot wound?
Yes.
And then and then that's the reason why that part is missing. Because when you start looking at other open cases that are happening in this area, firearm is the number one use, and there's over 53 open homicides in Milwaukee over the last couple of years of females who were shot. So the issue that comes down to is if they can find that, recover ballistics, and maybe then match it up to other things. Right now, it's a stretch. We're just speculating on that part, but you have to think about these things, because if there's no forensic evidence in the house, it had to happen somewhere else. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Right, Sarge. Perhaps the killing and the dismemberment of Sade Robinson happened in a place other than.
So now we're talking about manner of death. Well said, Sergeant. How was Sade Robinson unalived? Was she unalived in the house? Because what we're dealing with right now is hopscotch, trying to figure out why there's no blood of this woman. So as I said, killed her where? You take her back to your house, she pops up dead. As far as dismemberment, well, where did you kill her? How did you kill her? So number one, how was she unalived? Strangled, shot, stabbed? Will we find out the torso has stab wounds, gunshot wounds? Head, was she shot in the head? What happened to Miss Robinson? Why was she not killed in the house if we're going to believe she wasn't killed there? Or he just did a thorough job cleaning her up? Did he already have tarp waiting for her? There we go. Is this a case of a man who planned this crime out thoroughly? He found his victim. He got his victim to come back to his house. He had the tarp already waiting, bingo card. Sat on the sofa, couch, bed, choked her out, shot her, and then rolled her over to the tarp, wrapped her up, took her to her car, and then drove her somewhere in Milwaukee, dismembered her in her car, and then took her part by part by part to the parks and to the lake. Lord have mercy, that's a lot of work. Because the thing that's baffling is trying to put in my own head someone unaliving a person, one in the car, and then cutting their body parts up in the car. It seemed like it would be very awkward trying to cut a person up inside of a vehicle. She drove a small type car, so you got to use deduction, stay woke. Unless, as I said, the perpetrator had this mapped out already. He had the tarp already waiting, lying on the floor. And imagine walking into someone's house or basement and you see that fucking plastic and you know what time of day it is. Sweet Jesus, what have I done? That would have to be the most horrific feeling in the world. To go into a room and you know what is about to happen. So now you got to ask that question as well. What was in the dungeon in the basement? Ropes, ties, handcuffs, metal bars or something on the wall where you could slide your hands through, metal cuffs, and you realize, oh my goodness, I have come home gone into the abyss with this stranger. He's about to torture me down here. And nobody's going to hear me. Nobody's going to find me, sweet Jesus. I've made a mistake. I don't think any of us could ever fathom walking into a sex dungeon or a scenario where you know the worst is about to happen to you and there will be no savior. There'll be no getting out. There'll be no running out. There'll be no crawling out. I'm stuck with this thing and they're going to take my life. There are no words for that feeling.
And the house, we know they went to the house, but that's a really great point. And I wonder, last question for you, please, Sarge. Do you think the fact that the dismemberment has occurred and officials still haven't found all of her remains might stifle investigators' ability to know exactly how she was killed?
Yes, it's going to, we need to get the complete part of her body, every piece of it, because it will tell the entire story, right? Because the medical examiner will be able to tell us exactly what the cause and the manner of death was. We know the manner of death is going to be homicide, but the cause of death is an important aspect, right? Whether it's strangulation, asphyxia, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, or what have you. Because then you have to need to look for the murder weapons. You also need to look for the weapons or the devices that we use to dismember the body. If you read the affidavit, it talks about a lot of chopping and a lot of different that. So we're looking maybe for axes. There's a saw that they mentioned in the story too. So there is a bag of evidence somewhere. And remember, the clothes he was wearing doing this have to be found too, because this is the reason why I'm thinking it's the car, because you can go from the car into the house, change, and go.
Right. I think you're spot on, Sarge. Sergeant Joe Giacolone, check out his podcast, True Crime with the Sarge. It's excellent. Really appreciate you coming on the show to talk with us this morning. Take care. See you soon. When we come back, here's what we have next here on Opening Statements.
Court TV is the source. So, where are his clothes? Did he keep them, throw them away, wash them? Number one. What are the tools used to unalive the victim and also dismember the victim? What tools did Maxwell Anderson use against the victim? Did he carefully dismember her, kill her inside of his home, use a tarp or heavy plastic to unalive her, wrap her up, and then take her out of his home into her car, drive her deceased body into around the city, and then dismember her in the car, or he did it in the house? Which is it? He dismembered her in the house, killed her in the house, put her in her own car. Where was her car parked? On the front of the street, the back, in the garage? What? And why in the world would anyone risk unaliving a person, one, in the car and or dismembering the body in the car? I think perhaps he used a tarp. He already had it laid out as not to make a mess. And all he had to do was just wrap her body up and then carry the body upstairs. She wasn't a big person, probably 5 feet tall, 5'4", 5'5". It wasn't a lot to carry out. And then two, you don't know if the basement was able to be accessed straight to the backyard where he didn't have to do a lot of scuffling back up the stairs. I'm not really sure. But this is a baffling story nonetheless. A young girl, 19, is no longer alive because she took a chance with death. So now let's ask the ultimate question. Is this a hate crime? He is white, she is black. Did he target her because she's a different race? Are we talking about a white man that doesn't like black people, has a thing with black women? Maybe he was hurt by a black woman. A black woman he asked out and she said no. And he thought, I'll solicit a black woman on a date site and I'll get me a victim. That is why Ted Bundy, although he chose white women, he was white, but he chose women with the parts down the middle and dark hair. And if you go back and look at the photographs of the decedents, they were similar in hairstyle. That was a popular style back in the 70s. He was angry at the woman who jilted him, who no longer wanted to date him. He wasn't serious enough for her. So Ted Bundy said, okay, fine. I'll do you one better. Won't kill you, but I'll kill a replica of you. And you see this a lot with men. They'll date women who are eerily similar in facial structure, hair color, eye color, size to the one that jilted them.
And a new.
Stay woke. Did he choose Miss Robinson for her race? Was he ever jilted or mistreated or dumped by a black woman? Or are we talking about a racist white man who wanted to unalive a black person? I'll show them. I'll get me one of them. What are we saying here? Lord have mercy, the devil's a liar. Going to go to my community page to check the polls. Feel free to go to the community page to take the said polls pertaining to breaking news and true crime. Was Sade Robinson's murder a hate crime? 27% yes, 27% no, 45% not sure. Sade Robinson's blood was not in Maxwell Anderson's home. So where was she killed? 25% says beach, lake area. 38% says not sure. Because you have to remember he was going back and forth. They've got this on the pings on her phone. In his pocket, coat pocket, jacket pocket. Make it make sense. Or they pinged his phone. He stupidly left his phone on while he's going back and forth, dumping her body parts in the parks in Lake Michigan. Very scary information. 38% of you are just not sure where she was unalived. And once again, Marquette Johnson, black male, sentenced to 30 years for raping an inmate. He was a transport driver and guard for a company, and he has many allegations against him. Sentenced to 30 years in prison. Was that the right sentence? Yes, 83%, 17% no. Please feel free to go to my community page to take the said poll. And Mr. Paul Grice, one of the misfits from Oklahoma, has finally been arrested. What is his role? Is he the one that started this group, this occult, this cult, this dirty cult? He's younger than the other suspects. Why is that? What is his relation to all four suspects? What will his family, girlfriend, wife, children have to say? You can go to Facebook and pull up his Facebook profile if it's still up. Mr. Grice, what say you why you got involved in this crime to unalive these two women that you did not know from a can of paint? You sat and stupidly listened to the bullshit from Miss Adams, a dirty-ass old woman with nothing to do. I do believe more people knew about the plan to unalive Veronica Butler, and Miss Jillian Kelly just happened to be in the way. I also believe that the social worker may also be involved, because you cannot explain why she didn't double back and call Veronica to verify why the meeting was supposed to be called off to pick up other children. So I need verification on the conversation, because it looks like this Adams lady was doing the wrangling on the Kansas side, which that shouldn't have been, because Veronica's coming from Kansas, the social worker's coming from Kansas, so make it make sense why the original social worker didn't go on the trip. Was she in the pockets of Miss Adams? They became friends. She listened to the gossip, the rhetoric. She knew about the plan. Stay woke. Because if you can get this many people involved, you can get one more. Very scary. Is the social worker involved in the plot to unalive Miss Kelly and Miss Butler? Lord, sweet Jesus, help us. Still no information in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. Please check out Mr. Vinny Politan's latest upload. pertaining to that situation. I'm going to play you a little information from my own channel pertaining to this case. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129. Cash App, stickers, and chats always welcome during the live stream. My 2 recommendations for movies this week is on the Roku channel and YouTube. The Dirty South, very good movie, free on YouTube and the Roku channel. And Serenity, starring Matthew McConaughey. It's on the Roku channel. Thank you so very, very much. Let's see what the Queen has to say about this dirty, dirty business. A lot of true crime. I brought you some updates during this live stream pertaining to breaking news here in Tennessee. Teachers are now allowed to carry guns inside of the school. How do you all feel about that? Please go into the YouTube queue and look at my shorts. Help put this channel out there. I have a lot of shorts uploaded pertaining to Sebastian Rogers, Robin Harrington, this case of the Oklahoma group, Ruby Frankie. I have a lot of content in the shorts. Please check out that information. Do the clothes tell the story pertaining to Sebastian Rogers? You are now listening to The Vault. Excel, thank you for your time.
Decline to give a commentary. Guilty. He will have a scheduling hearing on May 16th. As most of you know who are following this, most of you who are following the story, more body parts have surfaced on the shoreline of Lake Michigan, and a torso and another leg believed to belong to Miss Robinson has surfaced. They have been out searching for her on the water using sonar equipment to see if there are more remains. I do not know the total of remains. I don't know if this makes
Hello,
4
Pinta.
or 5, because I don't.
Hold on one second. Trying to get out of some of this information so I can hurry up and get to the point of this live stream. Thank you so much. Please check out the YouTube queue where the Queen has 5,000 plus videos for you to enjoy said commentary. Thank you so much for joining me.
Preliminary hearing today in Milwaukee. Hearing May 16th. Second part of this live stream is pertaining to Sebastian Rogers. The father has spoken pertaining to egos, private eyes. He has
Good night, baby.
Fired the private investigators that he had. I didn't even know he had hired any. So now we learned that he fires 2, I guess, and then hired 2 more. Who are they? Where are they from? We also hear he's speaking out about everyone putting their egos to the side. I guess he's referring to people who want to help aid in the search, the continued search for his son. It is now the 2-month mark that the boy child has been missing. No new updates from TBI or the local sheriff's department. Will we hear from them? We will see. He's also drawn a petition over the weekend to ask help from the FBI. Will the FBI take over the case? This is his preference. I do not know if it's the preference of the Proudfoots or not, but this is Mr. Seth speaking that he wants the FBI to take over. So number 1, will the FBI take over TBI? Will the Sheriff's Department allow them to be the lead on this case? Also, vigil was held at Sebastian's high school over the weekend. A lot of information. Vigil, private investigators hired, and they all have decided to make amends as well, the parents. So what I want to ask is this: whose idea was that? Seth, was it your idea or was it the Proudfoots? Because I noticed the other day, or last week rather, that Mr. Proudfoot had posted some missing information about the boy child, and I thought it was interesting because I had not seen anything on that Facebook account in some time. I don't regularly go over there, but I brought you information a week or two ago saying that I didn't notice anything dating back a month ago. And then poof, voila, all of a sudden, they closed their Facebook accounts, private, the mother, private. And then poof, voila, he decides to share something pertaining to the child, which I thought was so ironic. And 9 times out of 10, it's because of all the hoopla that's playing out on YouTube and people making content, such as myself. And maybe he's been watching and hearing, ear hustling, as we say in the street. And he decided, well, I better say something about the child and post something to my Facebook page to act like I care. So I was listening to Vinnie Politan last night. Please check out his content. He has a YouTube channel. Vinnie Politan is a commentator for Court TV. There were some interesting comments made in the chat last night. And one of the comments was made by a woman who says maybe Seth is making amends with them so he can get some information out of them. And I thought that was a very interesting comment. So who reached out to whom? I'm curious. Seth, did you reach out to your ex-wife and her husband, or did they reach out to you? And whoever did the reaching out first, what did that person say to the other person? I'm curious. Or did somebody mediate and brought the three together? I don't know. Will it work? How long will it last? Because many are going to wonder. And so much has been said about the Proudfoots. So much has been said by Mr. Seth on different networks, Nancy Grace, Court TV, other networks. So one is going to wonder how is this going to work with all that's been said. Is Proudfoot going to, Mrs. Proudfoot, excuse me, going to social media on her own page to say she did not like what he had said? That wasn't the place for him to be saying things. She wasn't going to be going back and forth with him on social media. The next thing you knew, here comes her husband running out of breath to go on platforms to talk and speak, and so how's this going to work? Because when people say, put egos to the side, is he referencing them, or is he referencing just random people who want to get involved and be a part of the storyline or help? Don't know. Could be a secret message. Who's to say? But nonetheless, how are all these people going to meet up? Are they going to be talking every day? Are they going to be meeting? Are they going to be vigilant now, the Proudfoots? Because that is the question that many people have pertaining to this storyline. We're talking about 2 months now the child has been missing. We don't know if this is a criminal investigation or not. Many of us will assume that it is, because a few weeks ago they said it now has gone to the investigative side. So I'm going to ask the Sheriff's Department, TBI, is this now a criminal investigation? Do you have suspects or suspects in mind? What evidence do you have to lead to a suspect? Don't know. They'll probably never tell us. Will this work out? The meeting of the three. How is it going to work? Because as we've seen it play out on social media here up on this box, things have been said by all parties, mainly Mr. Proudfoot and Mr. Seth. Mr. Seth has gone on to tell the world about his relationship with her and things of nefarious nature pertaining to sexual assault of a child, his boy child. So now you got to ask yourself, how are these people going to mesh after these things have been said? My thing is, it's the truth. Now, naturally, the Proudfoots wouldn't want that out. Mrs. Proudfoot wouldn't want that out to the public. But it's the truth, is it not? Or is it not the truth? Because it should only be a problem if it's a lie.
Woo. Brief intermission. Sorry about that, you guys. Hit the link. Make this live count. You all do not have to continue to chat in the chat. The link is available for you to give your public opinion pertaining to the information at hand, the polls, the breaking news that I've brought during this live stream. Make this live count by hitting the link to give your public opinion. You do not have to show yourself. Thank you for joining me.
And that's what I always tell you about true crime. Everything's about a version and everything's about perception. What I see, you don't see. What I hear, you don't hear. So with this information coming out, people are going to start to wonder all types of things. What's the truth? Who's the boy that offended him? Who's this other grown-up that Mr. Seth was talking about? Are any of these people going to ever be named? You don't know. What information are we going to hear about the investigation side from CPS in the case about this, what happened out there in California, plus the allegation that Mr. Proudfoot used a belt on a child.
Well, Pinto, hit the link.
Anytime.
Pinto, you've been commenting too much. Hit the link and give your opinion. You all stop chatting in the chat. That is why the live stream is available. It's for you to hit the link so you can stop chatting in the chat and commenting on the post. Give people a chance to hear what you have to say. Because when you type, sometimes people misconstrue what you're saying. This is why I always tell people to hit the panel. I don't even put the panel up because nobody likes to come up and give their opinion. People want to hear what people have to say. This is why it's available to you. So people want to hear what you have to say. Why shouldn't Seth have exposed his son's assault? Hit it. Yes, you do. Hit the link with your finger, sweetheart. You're using a touch screen phone. Doesn't matter if it's Android, iPad, or it doesn't matter. All you do is hit the link with your finger. It guides you up. And it'll show camera. You can either keep it on or keep it off. Welcome, Danielle K. Thank you for joining me. Miss K, where are you calling me from?
Southern Minnesota.
All right, Minnesota, Lord have mercy. Let's start with my first topics. The prison guard that has now gotten 30 years in prison. What do you have to say about his charges and assaulting inmates in transport?
I think that's being like going a little light. But in Minnesota here, our murder statutes, I think, are insane. Like if you commit the worst, like first degree premeditated murder in Minnesota, because we don't have the death penalty, and the worst you can get is like 30 or 35 years. But like by the time they actually get sentenced, I mean they can. So basically, you can go out, premeditate a murder, and be out by the time you're like actually in prison in less than 30 years. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about 15 women?
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, I read that. It's a very winded article. It's about 15 women have come forward to say that he sexually assaulted them.
I believe it because these are people that from my experience, and I actually, I'll go ahead and share briefly. I was a victim of a serial offender. And in California, they throw the book at him now. And actually, this could be a topic that you could cover. His name is Rashid Bird. Yep, and he has ties to P. Diddy, apparently. But
explain the ties. Explain the ties.
Well, there's many articles that went out after he was sentenced, and then you could see because they were in the same movie together. Like, if you just Google him, you'll see.
Is he your offender?
Well, I'm one of the victims, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So just give me the bylaws, just the byline. Give me the time, the date, and what happened to him in your case.
Okay, so for me, like they didn't secure. This is pretty amazing, like detective work, which I love, like about this whole thing. So this happened to me when I was actually 17 years old, and I did all the right things. I literally, and when it happened, I thought it was like he didn't look like a monster. He didn't look like any of those things. It just seemed like an. And
set it up for me though. You met him where? Where did you meet him, honey?
So I was underage in a bar. That is the one thing. But
so what were you doing in a bar?
I had a fake ID, and my friend left me.
And how old were you?
I was 17.
17 in a bar?
Yeah, I was underage, but so this is the thing though. So it was like a whole group of people. So it was like, and he ended up getting 99 or 90 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great because, but the conviction that he got in out of Los Angeles is not. It's no conviction for me. Even I did all the right things, and it could have probably prevented. Like.
But you got to set it up for her, sweetheart. He said what to you, and how did it end up becoming a sexual assault? That's what I need you to explain to the chat.
So he just seemed like a normal person. It was okay. So he told him. Okay, so my friend left me, ditched me at a bar. I was young and naive, and I'm like, I had no ride, and he was like, "Oh, you can just come with us." And he wasn't even trying. He is not my type,
And who was us?
So me and my friend, who of another female that I came to the bar with, and this guy, I can name him because he's been convicted. His name is Rashid Bird.
So you are at the bar. Your friend leaves you. You're alone. Who says what to whom? You say something to him, or he comes up and says something to you?
Well, we all been just mingling inside this nightclub.
Okay, so he said something to you, or what?
I don't remember because I don't remember.
Okay, so you left with him.
With him, and then it was him and 3 other people. It was a group of.
So was it guys or girls that you left with, sweetheart?
Guys.
So you got in a car with a bunch of guys.
I did, but I would never do that now. But I was 17.
Okay, how old are you now? May I ask?
Yeah, no problem. I'll be 36 in May.
Okay, so you got in the car with a bunch of guys. What's the order of everybody getting out of the car?
Well, but here's the thing, though, is that it all made sense, too, because, where they had to go, it all made sense. And this part is, true about the story is, this is what was so lethal about it is, okay, so, where, and these were questions that defense asked and, in court. It's well, where, all these things. So it's where I needed to be dropped off. For my because they were don't worry, we can give you a ride home. It's on the way, and it was on the way.
Okay. How many people, sweetheart? How many people were in the car?
I would say 2 others besides myself. 2 other.
So 3 men and 1 woman.
Yeah, I would say But I mean,
where did you sit?
I don't remember exactly. I think it's probably in the back seat.
Okay, so he dropped the other guys off.
No. Nope. That's not the case. And I can even email you. I would trust you privately. I could even email you the.
Well, I just want you to give me the synopsis of how you end up being sexually assaulted. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yep. So they say, okay, so he said it was him. He said, and keep in mind, this whole time, I'm not even interested in him, and I'm not rubbing on none of that. It's just, I thought it was just a group, I looked at them as peers, oh, and they're oh yeah, we can take you home. And I was young and naive, would never do it now. But anyway, so long story short, so this is how what goes down. So we get to the destination, but once we pass the exit where I was supposed to be dropped off, I got this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I was and in my head I'm thinking this is not right, And I said, well, why won't you what's going on? Why aren't you dropping me off? And they're oh, well, we'll take you back later, but we just we'll turn around, and then we get to, and it was only I guess 3 more exits, but I mean, just something didn't seem right, but then, so we get back to the place, to this, it's a house in a subdevelopment, in a nice, a newer subdevelopment. And I was already familiar, with this is familiar area for me. And I, so it was I had, aside from being naive, I had my guard down. And so we go into the house, and it just seemed like a normal after party type.
Well, let me ask you this. Why would you go in the house? Why did you decide to go into the house?
Well, because I was like young and stupid, naive.
Well,
And
I'm just asking. I don't know because I don't know the conversation. I don't know if he's saying something to you. Is he flirting? Is he asking you what you like to do? Is he saying, "Hey, you want to hook up? Do you want to smoke some weed? Do you want to pop pills? Do you want to drink some more?"
Like
you're not telling me what the conversation is about.
Well, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was something to like along with like we're just gonna go hang out here for a while or something. I would need to like look at the report, my initial statement.
Okay, so you went inside the house. What happened when you got inside of the house?
Okay, so it was like not a lot of time in the main common area, like kitchen area where the people hang out, and then he says, then the offender, the convicted, says, I want to show you my room. And
so whose house did he tell you he was at, that you were at?
I didn't know. There were none of those details, but come to find out, it wasn't his house at all, and it wasn't his room.
Whose house did you find out it was, sweetheart?
Someone who wasn't even involved in any of it.
So it was an adult's house?
Yep.
So was he related to the adult, friends with the adult?
Nope.
How old was he? How old was your offender at the time?
Well, let me pull up the report real quickly. I want to say he's like, I want to say like 7 to 10 years older. Let me take a look.
So how old were the other guys that were there?
Probably around the same age.
So you left the common area of the kitchen, wherever, and he took you to show you his room that wasn't his room. And what happened when you got in the room?
He turned into a completely different person. It was crazy. It was crazy.
He pushed you, he choked you, he jumped you, he pulled you to the bed. Just say
well, he's 7'2".
Huh?
He's like 7'2".
Okay.
And I'm 5'2".
Okay.
5'3". And he threatened that he had a gun under the mattress.
Okay.
And so I felt that I didn't have a choice.
So when you first got in the room, did he push you, shove you, or he guided you to the bed?
I don't exactly remember. I just know.
Well, let me ask you this: were you under the influence? Were you drunk at the time of getting in the car with these guys?
I did drink, but I was not drunk. And we established
I'm trying to understand. Listen, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to understand how you don't remember anything verbatim. You understand? Most people can remember the smell, the touch, everything. So that's why I'm asking you: were you drunk or were you drugged? Were you roofied?
I think I was probably buzzed, but I mean, could I have driven? No, but like, I don't think I was like drunk.
But you got there at that club or bar with a friend, so you didn't drive.
No, right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So he assaults you. Does he use violence as far as choking, anything like that, or?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to share or you don't want to share?
I mean, I was like held down.
Okay. Hello?
Oh, I'm here.
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Oh no, I was waiting for you to ask me another question.
No, it's easier. It's easier, sweetheart, if you can just tell me what he did to you. If you are able to explain.
So like after all that, like so. Anyway, so I was like, I felt like I was like basically how I remember it is like he like I didn't feel like I had a way out, like an ex, like basically like he was blocking the door type thing. You know.
So did you try to leave? Did you tell him no? I don't want to do this. Did you try to leave? Did you tell him you wanted to leave?
Yep. Yes, I did.
You told him no.
Yes, I did, and it's in the police report. Yes, I did. Okay. And he ignored my requests, and those are words from the police report. And then he reached under the mattress, kept reaching under the mattress, and said he'd use his pistol on me if I if I didn't do it, basically like didn't go along with what was going on. But so once he was done. Meanwhile, this is back when we had those phones where it had an antenna on it. It had like an antenna. He broke the antenna off my phone. I kept trying to call my sister, who's now passed on, but I kept trying to call my older sister, whose house I was supposed to be dropped off at.
Yeah. And so where were you trying to use the phone at? Where were you at the time you were trying to use the phone?
I was lay underneath him being raped. I kept
And you were able to get access to your phone.
Yeah, it was like my purse was right beside me. It was like right there.
You said your purse.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had my phone and it was somehow like it was on, and because this is corroborated from her statements to law enforcement, and this was used in court and everything. And like my sister gave a report that she could hear him like basically he said, "Get this bitch out of my house because I don't want her."
So you had the line open while calling your sister.
Basically, yeah, that's what happened. Yep.
So you were able to get out of the house.
Yep, and I left without my shoes on. I ran out of the house without my shoes, and I pounded on a neighbor's sliding glass door. It was like 5 a.m. And I was like, help, please help me. Someone help me. Okay. And I went to the hospital. I got a rape kit and everything, and there was nothing ever came of it. But the great thing about all this is that even though they didn't get a conviction with my case.
So what you say? They didn't press charges. Just slow down.
Yeah, they didn't.
You get a rape kit. Did they go talk to him?
He was threatening while he was like raping me. He was like, if you ever tell anybody about this, I'm going to get my attorneys involved and no one will ever believe you, all that BS. But so I don't know why I don't know. The prosecutor in LA says she doesn't know why they didn't. She was disgusted. She's like, I don't know why they did not press like charges, but
she's a district attorney. That don't make any sense. That's a detective can say that, but not a district attorney. The district attorney goes by the evidence that the detectives give. It's a two-way street. The detectives give the evidence, and then the district attorney decides if there's evidence to prosecute.
But after we were kind of like brainstorming about this, we had like brought back think about this though, like DNA. Probably the evidence is probably because even though they did a rape kit back then. DNA
now, what year was this? Because you're not telling me the year.
Oh, that was 2000. Oh, gosh, here, let me pull it back up. I want to make sure I'm giving you the accurate information here. Okay, so. Okay, I have it right here. It is 2005.
Well, DNA was a little bit savvier in 2005, I would think.
I don't think so. I don't think.
Well, I'm just saying it may not be as detailed now because you're talking about almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. So
a lot has changed in 20 years, 19 years.
I know, because I'm thinking, I'm like, I feel like that was just yesterday. And I'm like, what? And so so what I mean is that in terms of cost, for them to be able to I'm like, well, they had the rape kit. Well, why didn't they do it? Prosecute them? Well, I can see now, maybe why they wouldn't have done that,
We'll give you an explanation. Why wouldn't they?
Well, I'm just guessing the allocation of resources. I don't know how much it costs to process it.
Well, we've learned that a lot of rape kits stay on the shelf, and I think they push through which cases they want to push through.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
So maybe that was an issue. I don't know. Maybe they thought that he didn't rape you. Maybe they thought it was consensual. I don't really know. But I do believe you should have stayed on the district attorney to ask. Are you going to do anything or not? Or did they just finally tell you, no, we're not prosecuting?
Well, and the fact that I was a minor at the time, I feel like that should have.
Well, that's why they should have, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what probably looked bad is the fact that you were in a bar.
But that doesn't matter.
No, just listen. I hear what you're saying. But you're in a bar.
You don't get to pick your victim.
No, but I'm just saying. We don't know what he told them and what evidence they have. So even if the rape kit came back.
Someone who's of age.
So you got a girl in a bar who knows she's not supposed to be in the bar. Then you got getting in a car with a bunch of guys. I was waiting for
it's their own bias that probably.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. So they may be just looking at the scenario of the allegation. It wasn't like he jumped out the woods or broke in your house. You see where I'm going? So they may have thought, well, she was out doing something she didn't have no business. How do we know she didn't go home with him to have sex with him and now she's crying rape?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people think like that.
Yeah, and it's so easy to fall. I'm sure I fall into those traps. It's so easy. I just
So
yeah.
how was he? So how was he? So he has now been arrested and he's in prison for actual sex SA. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it's pretty much for the rest of his life, and it's to the point where.
Who was that? And who was that victim in the circumstances?
Oh, it wasn't one, and I don't know their names because they.
Okay, that's fine.
They don't tell us.
So was it a yearly situation? Every few years, the allegations?
It was like multiple. Like I would say, like just from what the charges were, like it was like. Because I attended, well, of course I had to go in person. They flew me to LA to testify.
Okay.
Like, but they weren't able to like.
And where were you living at the time when you flew in?
Minnesota.
Okay, so what age was he when he went and stood trial for these assaults?
Like 40. Okay, he is. So his date of birth, he's like in his 40s now.
Okay.
I'm just like looking right now at my report. So
he was. You said he was about 40 or over 40.
Well, right now.
Okay. So basically, your opinion about this guard raping the women. He had another guy in the van with him, which I thought was strange. And this means the guy is watching submissively. I'm wondering why. Did he participate? We don't hear that he participated. I just think this is so jacked up, the situation with this guard and then him having another guard there. I think it's also jacked up that he's picking up female inmates with other men inmates on the same bus. I've never heard of such.
I have not either. And how it ties back to this is that I think it's because these people are not this if my offender is like he had a lot going, could have had a lot going for him, right? You know, he was like it could have he was in like the NBA, not like a the best team, but he was in these like movies. He was like like a C class or whatever celebrity. Not when I met him, but all that. But like the thing is like and to me, I'm like I would see if I saw this person, a person on paper, you would think like okay, like that looks like an attractive human being.
So was he playing? So listen, was he playing in the NBA when you met him at the bar?
No, I mean no, I don't think so.
So what had he been doing when you met him at the bar? Working or I'm confused.
I don't know what he was doing.
I see. I'm just asking. Okay, so let's go to the next subject because I don't know what you really have to say about the inmate situation. Paul Grice has been arrested as a fifth suspect. What opinion do you have about Mr. Grice? I'm going to take an intermission. Go ahead and speak then so everybody can hear you because I got Yvonne up here too and I'm going to let her speak.
Oh, the fifth suspect in the Oklahoma?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, see the one that was like alluded to in the affidavit or whatever that was filed?
I just want you to give me your opinion about Mr. Grice being arrested.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Sounds like he's probably involved. I feel like there's probably a whole ring, like from the sounds of it, because I'm like, well, how else, like, aside of being brainwashed or manipulated into a cult, like, do you like have that many? Aside from that, how do you have that many willing adults participating in this kind of criminal activity?
All right. So, how many more people do you think know about the plan? Hello?
Oh, I'm here.
How many more people do you think knew about the plan to murder the Miss Veronica?
I think the whole cult. I don't know how widespread that is. Like, how many people are actually involved? And I think it's interesting. I don't know if you saw there was I don't have cable TV, but I'm like watching clips here and there, but it's like some apparently some like representative from the God's Misfits came out and did a interview.
Yeah, they're
and
different
tried-
ones. That's allegedly that's not them. That's why I explained it to you all a week ago. They're different Facebook groups with the God Misfits logo, so you don't know who's who.
Yeah, but I'm like, is that intentional though? You know, I'm like,
well, I don't know. Listen, there are more than one Misfits group. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So you don't know who you're listening to. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't know if they're a part of that group or not, or if it's another group. See, how are you going to know? They're not going to tell you. Oh yeah, by the way, they were following us. Who would tell you that? Nobody.
Right, and then like there's no like better liar than the devil, so it's like, how do you really know what to believe? I'm just like,
Okay. Now, as far as Miss Robinson's case, what do you have to say about the blood not being found inside of Mr. Maxwell Anderson's house?
I mean, I think that's. I don't know all the backstory on the other stuff, but I'm like, but there was blood, but it was not hers, or what's going on?
Say what? I didn't hear what you said, honey. Danielle?
Sorry. I thought you were asking for someone else to talk.
No. I'm gonna get to Yvonne here in a minute, and I'll take you down. I'm saying what? There's blood found on the wall. It's not hers. I don't know if it's wet, if it's dry. It's a lot of questions. What do you have to say about the information that her blood was not found in his home?
Well, my initial thought is that I'm like, well, that I don't know what to think, but I don't have all the other information. I'm like, so then I saw some things in chat, like, or that there's blood spat or something, but so I'm like, I guess my next question is like, well, then is there blood there at all? That's my next question.
They said there's blood on the wall, sweetheart.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Listen, blood on the comfort, blood on the wall. This is why I said, is there other victims? Number one, did he kill her somewhere else? Did he put tarp down and that's why there's no blood evidence? He could have put tarp down. He could have already had the tarp ready while he was out scavenging looking for a victim.
Like a Dexter.
She wants to come back. She wants to come back to my house. Already got everything laid out.
Oh my gosh.
So there wasn't any blood if you got a tarp laid out.
Yeah, well, like the Idaho 4 case, the B case, Brian Kober, whatever his name is, situation. Like they were like, oh well, there's nothing in the car, allegedly, is what. But I'm like, yeah, like you can put a tarp down. But I think, yeah, and I think my thought on that is that those, from what I've heard from experts, that because I listen to true crime all the time, but it's like, is that they evolve, like they get smarter. Like, of course, like the first couple time or two, or couple times, 3 times.
Because the object is not to get caught. So that's why a rapist becomes a murderer. For most people who do not know that.
Yeah.
Once a rapist has been accused of raping, if he or she gets off on the charge, they know not to leave a victim alive.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of crimes cross over. It could be theft, it could be robbery. Okay, I know I like to rob, steal. I like to sexually assault. I like to, molest children. I can't have a victim that can talk. So a dead man, woman tells no tales.
Yep. Or there's some sick people. Like there's that one case where there was like a medical professional assaulting a nonverbal patient. It's like it's just separate. It's all on just different degrees, but it follows the same pattern, which is scary. Which is why there's different degrees and different degrees of punishment in the law.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
So is there anything else you want to say about the 3 topics at hand?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just listening. I was just trying to listen.
Yvonne, what do you have to say about the guard raping the women on the van from state to state?
Okay, so on that, I really actually I don't know that much about it, but I do think that it's really strange that it's like some kind of a racket or something they had going, which is, you know, kind
Really?
of a new thought. But
Racket.
I don't know. Maybe they were. What if they were like? I don't know why this crossed my mind, but it talked about like sex and money or something. What if they offered to pay those girls something or offered those girls something, and then they, you know,
Pay them.
called it
How they
called
gonna
it
pay?
rape or whatever.
You
Called it
can't.
rape, and then they can.
But you can't spend the money. You can't. Where's she gonna take the money? She can't. She can't. How's she gonna explain she got money on her?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know
I
what I
guess
mean?
not. But just like
Where you
I
calling
just
from,
think that,
Siobhan?
huh?
Where you calling me from?
Arizona.
Arizona. Okay, so let's look at here. 15 women at least have brought forward allegations. He's his main case, he got to 30 years. He admitted to 2 in a plea deal. I put that question on my community page. Should he got more time? He probably would have had he stood trial and been judged by 12 members of a jury. I just pray that we don't look up and less than 30 years he's out walking.
Yeah, well, he didn't kill nobody. I guess they let him out if you don't kill anybody.
Oh,
Isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? I mean, yeah, it's, but they had some kind of racket going. I mean,
What about the guy watching? What about the guy who came back with the burritos and saw he was in the back seat with the one lady?
yeah, that was probably, what if maybe they were filming it and selling the films on the dark web or something? Who knows?
Well, I didn't hear that part, but I just thought it was strange when I first saw the story that a man would be transporting inmates around different states, and he's doing it alone, which would be dangerous. So now it's revealed that he had a co-conspirator driver, passenger, however you want to, whoever drove, and then now we learned this person has been watching and not saying nothing, and then the one where he took the girl in the bathroom, like the old time way of the bathroom on the side of the building.
Yeah.
Like nobody's seeing him walk into a bathroom with the inmate. What the hell?
Yeah, that's for sure. But a lot of people don't speak up if they, or if it was like, what if it was a remote area? I mean, do we know if it was a remote area and it was like,
we don't know. I mean, he's so
there's a lot of places you can commit crime. I mean, even here, I live in a town that's a big town with a lot of people, but right outside my back gate is like fields, just wild
from this
desert,
Kansas and Oklahoma. That was just desert, just open field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't really understand how that took place either, because there's a lot to that story that don't make no sense. Blocking.
Yeah. And did you say that the guy that owns the company didn't even care?
Well, he cussed the reporter out.
Yeah. So obviously he doesn't want to, stand up and do what's right either. He just wants it to put his head in the sand.
It went on for God knows how long, because the women are going to the jail, okay? And they're complaining to the jail. And then the jail is calling the company. That's where they made their mistake. They should have been calling their own district attorney or you see what I'm saying? You calling the company ain't shit, because
they ain't doing nobody's gonna cooperate with you. Like you should know that. Like you got to get the authority, somebody in authority to question them and talk to them,
Exactly. Calling the company. I would have called the company after I've called my own jail system. So whether it's sheriff's department or city jail that I got an inmate coming in, I'm getting ready to call our district attorney and talk to her. She's going to talk to the witnesses, and then the district attorney will do her due diligence to call the company and call any other local jurisdictions, legal jail or sheriff's department.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the reason why it went on, probably for God knows how long.
Yep. And they kind of, sometimes you can even lose a case by doing it like that, I mean, by not going through the proper steps at the proper time,
Yeah, because just calling the company, they just pushed it under the rug. They already said they already had complaints before he even got the arrest warrant served for the one lady, for the one inmate.
Mm-hmm.
They had people calling them complaining.
And nobody, and also, I mean, here's another thing. I mean, who's going to really care about I mean, I this is not my attitude, but this is
I
what
know exactly where you're going. They're
other people
inmates. I
might.
was sitting here thinking the same thing. Yes, they're
Yeah,
inmates.
I mean,
Who
who's
cares?
going to care about a bunch of girls that are, in jail or
Yeah,
whatever? I mean, like
yeah,
they've got their own crimes. Nobody's going to care about
yeah,
them whining and complaining
yeah,
about being raped. Oh well, you
yeah.
should, shouldn't be living your
That's the
bad
attitude.
life.
And that's the attitude
Yeah,
of the inmates inside. Who cares if they're not getting their medicines? They're not getting eyewear. They're not going
yeah,
to the emergency room. They're having a heart attack, stroke, need blood pressure medicine. Oh, well, you did something. You're in there to suffer.
yeah,
The
exactly.
conditions, the foods, all the stuff we're hearing from that damn Mr. Todd Chrisley. Oh, the food's
Yeah.
expired.
And all those
Yeah,
people, all those girls in jail, I mean, obviously they're thieves and liars and whatever else they are. And so, half the time people are not going to want to believe them anyway. They're going to be just like, whatever,
okay, and that's
like,
very true. Uh, I was thinking about that with the Robin Hallington. I believe she was she brought forward an allegation that in another county near me, officer deputy sexually assaulted her. He was supposed to be picking her up, so it's kind of similar. And she's the same one that killed her 5-year-old daughter. They just found her guilty.
yes, yes. And,
For murdering 5-year-old Destiny.
I
So
mean,
I
do you
wonder
think
with
that,
her,
do you
she
think he,
lied. She probably could have lied. See, think about that.
yeah, I mean, she's a liar. She's a bad liar and manipulator. And she's, I mean, I think that was proven in court over her murder case
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. And, I kind of felt sorry for that cop that she accused in a way. I
Well,
didn't see his testimony.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you believe she lied on that deputy in the other jurisdiction that he sexually assaulted her? Because my understanding, nothing's come from that.
I do believe she made that up. I mean,
Wow.
because I think she just, as a diversion, is, to kind of,
way before she killed her kid.
Yeah, but when she was on trial,
Mm-hmm.
And how it came out in her trial and everything, I think that worked
her lawyer was beating that down. Her lawyer was beating that down. You understand what I'm saying? He was beating that old case, and he was beating the interrogation of the current detectives that they lied to her about this and this. But that's the point. When they interrogate you, they do not have to tell the truth about anything.
No, and they often don't, because how do you beat a liar and a murderer? I mean, you gotta play that game to a certain degree to get to the bottom of the truth, and so they don't have to tell the truth, because they're dealing with people that don't tell the truth,
right.
But I do think she should have gotten more than 22 years for sure. That was
they didn't run it, as they call it, consecutively.
Consecutive.
Yeah, so it should have been. Remember, she got 3 for this, 3 for that.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, because if they would have added it all up, it would have been more.
Yeah, it would have been about 37.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. Next subject. Paul Grice has been arrested. He was a person of interest, or a person they questioned, rather, a week or so ago. Now he's been formally arrested in the murders of the 2 women. Mm-hmm. Do you believe he's the ringleader of the group? Tell me how you think they all met. And do you believe other people know about the murder and the plot to murder this woman?
I don't know a lot about the case. I've only followed it for like the last couple of weeks, but
are you not Pinto in the chat?
Huh?
Are you Pinto in the chat?
No, I'm Yvonne.
Okay, I see you, Yvonne, but I didn't know if you used another name, because I didn't know. That's why I asked. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know if you used okay, so
I just think that he's in the group. I think he's probably one of the ones that I just think he's in the group. I don't think he's the ringleader. I think the grandma is in charge of everything. I think that it's a small group. I don't think it's a big, it's not like a mega church, cult group or anything like that. It's these small people.
Do you think it was made recently, before the murders?
Well, they say that they wanted to kill her, a couple months before they actually did, right?
I'm talking about the forming of the group. Do you think the group was formed before she was? Well,
yes, I do think the group was
formed in order to have the name. So.
Yeah, I think the group was already formed because that was her boyfriend, and those were, they hung out. Those two couples hung out together.
I'm gonna tell you something. Now, Danielle has a good point about oh Lord, I can't remember what I'm trying to say. The group line, the guy who came forward, the older white guy to speak to say this is what we're about. See, what's interesting is when you go look at that Misfits group, because it's like 2 or 3 on the Facebook, okay?
Right, they're different groups, right?
Where the old man is representing this group that he says they're not affiliated with them. The thing that is bothersome to me about the group is that the logo says we're the badasses, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't sound Christian-like to say. So that's strange to me.
Yeah.
And it also started right before the murders. The group came together, the Facebook page, in maybe March.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all strange because, when you go into Facebook, it shows you when a person joined Facebook, okay?
Yeah.
When you join Google, all that. So when you go into the Facebook group, it's close proximity to the murders. So my thing is, you're saying, okay, I'm not a part of this group. Woo, woo, we don't know them. Don't know if they're following us, blah, blah, blah. We're not the same people. We're godly. We work on the Bible scriptures. The thing about it is your logo is not dignified. You're sitting here saying we're misfits, and your logo is saying we're such and such badasses. I just don't think that's a good thing to have as a logo for a Christian group, whether you calling yourself misfits, outsiders. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that they are so-called, practicing Christians or whatever. They might call themselves Christians as a cover or whatever, or they say that they believe in God. Anybody can say that, but they don't live that life.
And that's true.
But I just think that I've heard, what I have heard through, the news and all that kind of stuff, and is that they live in a small community.
Mm-hmm.
She has a lot of influence in that community, the grandmother.
Yeah.
That
own a lot of land.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you had posted something about, why didn't they do take the judge out, or why did they, and I think that I was like, I think that was just kind of like a bully threat kind of a thing. They were just kind of bullying the community, and I think they were like kind of baiting, social media and stuff like that to make them look like they were tough or whatever, or get people all riled up about it.
Slow down. What are you saying, sweetheart? So what are you saying, that they were out talking about people on social media? You know how stupid that would be?
No, they weren't talking to people on social media, but they may have known that it was going to get social media attention, or even just, mainstream media attention.
Well, what was going to get the media attention? I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, if they were planning a murder, right?
You mean basically planning to get caught, because that's what's been mentioned. So that means you did not do it. You did it to what? Save the son and then forfeit your own freedom.
I know. It doesn't make any sense, but all these people like that, all these people that commit these kind of heinous crimes, there's always something wrong with their plan, right? They always do something wrong. That's what gets them caught.
Yeah, because they're kind of stunned that she even confessed, but then Court TV or whomever or News Nation says, well, we think she deliberately confessed. And I thought, well, you really don't have an option. When all the roads lead back to you, you had to have known that they were going to look at you anyway, because the woman was going to meet you. This is why this plan made no sense.
I know.
You were going to meet her. She was going to meet you. So why the hell would you kill this woman knowing that they're going to ask, well, where was she going? Oh, she's going to Oklahoma to meet the grandmother. Oh, she has problems with the grandmother. It made no sense.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know. It doesn't really, it makes no logical sense. But, I mean, what happened. And the thing, I have a question about, they said that, who was the person that said that they were 10 feet down in that hole? In the ground.
News Nation covered it with hay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know who was the which one of the group, confessed that. Was it her?
I think what they're basically saying is she's did most of the talking. They haven't said anything else is talk. She's basically, what they're saying is custodial commentary. So she's saying all this during allegedly during custody. But like they said, the flip side could be down the road. she tries to get all that stuff thrown out.
Yeah, and maybe exactly. I mean, and if she does have the influence and some money that they say that she has, that she might be able to get a good attorney that's gonna,
She has
kind
her
of,
own attorney.
huh?
She has her own attorney.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
really don't know what she said, because like they said, she's saying that I'm responsible. Well, we already know that's legal jargon. Me saying I'm responsible does not mean I killed the person. I could say, well, I'm responsible for their deaths because I complained and these people went out on their own and killed her.
Well,
you see the difference?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens.
You understand what I'm saying? I can say I'm
Yeah.
responsible, but I don't have to tell you that I actually killed her and the social worker. I could say, oh, I'm responsible for their deaths. See, that's the whole point of what they're saying on the news is we don't really know what they mean when they say she said she was responsible. Did she say, yes, I plotted the deaths of these two. I went and got these people to help. Or is she saying I'm responsible, but not saying I directly killed them?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I'm sure we'll find out during trial, or before trial when she goes on trial.
Yeah, because she could flip it in the end and say, well, they knew I had a problem with her. I complained, and they took it upon themselves to unalive her and the social worker. See, that would be a clever thing. But the only thing that's going to be a problem if she flips it and does that, the state's going to say, well, we have proof of burner phones. How could you not have plotted it and have burner phones? We've got you on camera going to Walmart or Dollar General. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you had them known and plotted with them because how did they get the phones? Or because let's say she's the one that bought them, right? She used her credit card, debit card. Now, how are you going to explain the burner phones are on your card?
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, if she can try whatever kind of lies that she's going to try or whatever. But I think she's fully culpable. And I think that she will go down. And it's dumb because she totally, did not accomplish what she wanted to accomplish, which was to have those grandkids all to herself.
Yes,
but I guess maybe she thought, hey, I'm going to lose these kids.
Don't got them, but she don't have them. So I'm fine.
That's true. That's true. That's what I thought. That's what I'm saying. She probably thought, well, I'm not going to be able to have these kids much longer. And so the only, thing I can do is make sure she doesn't have them.
Well, and there's people who do this. They know they'll probably get caught. Because see, you got to remember, you're thinking of an outsider who allegedly is not a murderer and have a murder in mind. So, but a person who is sick would say, I know I'm going to get caught, but I don't care so long as she don't get the man or the man don't get the woman. See where I'm going? The man don't get the kids. She don't get the kids. I will die in prison, death chair. She didn't get them, and I'm fine with that.
Exactly. That's a pretty evil person right there.
Scary. But that's very scary. That you're willing to forfeit your own freedom, and also your freedom to deal with the children and have the children, have access to the children, to murder their mother. But as I said in my commentary, I'm still very curious to why this woman lost custody, because you're talking about a 27-year-old woman. Why in the world did this woman not have custody of her children? That needs
she probably had drug problems and everything.
Well, there's allegations
why else?
The children.
Yeah, but that's not I think that's. Let's see. What I heard about that is that it was never confirmed. Yeah, okay. And not just not confirmed, but like there was no evidence of that.
Yeah, I heard what you said. But see, you always got to remember something. Who do we believe that there's no evidence? Because when you're dealing with the state, nobody talks.
Well, the state couldn't find the evidence. And if the state says they couldn't find any evidence, what can the state do? No. But and that could have been the grandma just making those accusations. They could have been empty accusations.
But what I'm saying is the state dealing with children, they don't give you readily information in a case dealing with children. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Summer Wells and all that. They don't have to tell us what allegedly the father and the mother said. Oh yeah, the state came by here. We were dealing with them. See, you're never going to know that because the state will not tell you what was going on.
The CPS, the Children Protective Services, they don't talk. They don't talk. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I don't have any proof to say either way that the children were molested, that it was confirmed, not confirmed, or that the grandmother made it up. How are we going to know? Because who's going to tell it?
Yeah.
That's where I have the problem. Because imagine if this was a lie. Imagine she killed these kids on a lie. Then you have to say, okay, then what was the reason that you murdered them? Because you just didn't want her to have them.
Right. It comes
made
back
up a
to
lie
that.
and put it out
It
there.
comes back to that. You know,
Oh,
like she tried all these different things, but nothing worked. Last resort, got to kill the girl because, you know.
Okay, but guess what? An allegation. But guess what? That makes no sense either, because then that means the state was in somebody's pocket to go ahead and believe an allegation of child molestation without no proof, and the woman lost her kids. How is that fair to her?
Wasn't. That poor girl, nothing was fair.
But what if
You
we're
know?
wrong about the mother who's dead? See, this is why I have a problem with the case, because I know there's something stinky in the hole, because it always
Well,
is.
yeah, exactly. I know. But the worst thing that's happened so far, even beyond the molestation, is a murder. You know, and that's something
Yes, it
tangible.
is.
That's something
Yes.
tangible that they
So
can work with.
I'm also questioning this social worker, because something's off with this he said, she said shit coming from whatever her name is, Miss Adams, that she told her don't come. See, that doesn't make any sense. That worker was supposed to then go verify the information with Veronica. Do you see where I'm saying there's a rat?
Yeah, that was weird. And she told her not to come to the visitation or whatever, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the whole point. You know, by law, she's supposed to go with the mother. So make it make sense. How are you delegating something that's already supposed to be in ink? I had to think about that when I did the live yesterday, and it hit me. She had to be in the pocket of Miss Adams. Or that's another lie, and who's putting that shit out there? So this is why you have to be careful with listening to he said, she said stuff. I like to hear from the horse. If it ain't in the affidavit, you understand what I'm saying? I need proof. So that worker needs to come forward and speak up for herself and say, this is the reason why I did not go on the visit with Miss Veronica. Because if we're going to say she favored her over anybody else, then that means they were friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even if they were friends, I mean, exactly. And they shouldn't.
You gotta ask yourself that. How would they become friends when she's living in Kansas allegedly and she's living in Oklahoma? Make it make sense.
Yeah.
See, nobody's really talking about this. This is why I tell people.
So there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of levels to it.
Right. Exactly. Because if you pay attention to why she ended up not going on the trip, somebody's going to say logically, okay, well, if you didn't go on the trip and you're supposed to, then what reason did you give your boss or whomever why you weren't going that day? See, you're not hearing that.
Right.
All this is delegating from Miss Adams, and she's not the one that's supposed to be calling the shots. This is why I keep telling everybody, you have to listen to the information, because something stinks deeper than just, oh, I don't like her, I don't want my grandkids with her.
Yeah.
Way deeper than that.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the justice problem. That's why there's no, you want to get into the bigger ethical, debate about the justice system. There's a lot of holes.
Grandma.
There's a lot of holes in the ship.
Dirty grandma, dirty DHS, dirty people in the community that are friends with them. See how deep the hole goes?
Yeah.
So how do you have pool all the way in Kansas? They won't now.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Yep, it is bad. It's bad. And that poor other lady who was just along for the ride, the preacher's wife.
Imagine it was 4 people who were supposed to go on that were on the roster to be a driver passenger. Just think about that. 4 people have been chosen. Allegedly, Miss Adams has told the main one, you ain't got to come. So then somebody chooses whomever, which is Miss Jillian. See where there's a gap in that?
Yeah.
There's something stinky there.
Yeah. But don't you think that I can't help but feel that the mom of the kids, she must have, known that she didn't want to go over there by herself. She wanted somebody with her. Poor girl.
It don't work like that. She's mandated to have somebody go with her. It's a supervised visit. This is why I keep trying to tell everybody. There's something.
Yeah, but that preacher's wife wasn't a mandated person, right?
Listen, there were 4 people in line. If there's 4, then that means it was mandated. See where I'm going? Why would you have a choice of 4? That's what was said in a news report. There were 4 people who were designated to go. So I'm thinking that it's mandated, because if it's supervised, then that means it's mandated. You can't have one without the other. Mandated means just what it means. You have to have somebody go with you to go pick up your kids. I've got to watch you be with your kids. So this is why you try to tell people there is some allegations against this woman, because there's no reason for her to have a worker with her. Why would she have a worker with her? That's why it's called supervised visit.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, I don't know. I think that she also, I mean, I think it had to do with her own personal conduct too, more than, I mean, maybe she was, like I said, I think she was maybe involved in drugs and she was trying to get cleaned up. She wanted to get those kids, and she was working on that.
And life. Maybe she changed her life. Like I said, we don't really know all the allegations of why she didn't have her children. But I always tell people, in order to get to the truth of why this woman is dead, you got to go to the beginning, and that's what you don't have right now. Right now, all you have is this bullshit with Miss Fancy Pants, Miss Miss Mountain Dew. She's running the city, all this old type of nonsense. No, the story starts at the beginning of when she and Rick met one another,
got together,
dated. Exactly. That's where the story starts, because somewhere down the line, something went awry. And I went to Facebook the other day, and this one girl's got a page. I don't know what's the truth, but she's saying that his charges is about firearms or some type of shit. And that's why he's in rehab, which that don't make no sense to me either. Why
you don't go to rehab because of firearms.
That doesn't sound right either. But she said she called the jail or the rehab or whatever, and that don't make sense either, because they're not supposed to tell you anything. And usually when people go to rehab, you don't know where they're getting sent to rehab. You get sent to rehab out of town.
Or out of state, even.
Or that's what I'm saying. So you're not even supposed to know that anyway. To say,
and if it's
I call, he's in custody.
Was it a mandated rehab?
But that's what I'm trying to say. But we got rehabs everywhere.
I know.
You're not supposed to know where a person goes to rehab.
And how much does he know about the whole plot?
And that's where I was going as well. He goes into rehab 8 days before they go missing. Stay woke.
Awful convenient, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I've thought about that too. I'm like, what all,
22nd.
He?
He goes in the 22nd allegedly. No contact for 30 days is what this girl says on her Facebook page. So my thing is, 8 days ain't nothing. How do we know that the daughter of the Twombly said this has been going on since February, her listening and ear hustling, her parents meeting with them. So that means this plan has been in motion. You want me to honestly believe that she never told her son she's going to knock off the mother? She had to say something because his grandmother told him. Have you heard that?
Well, I didn't hear about the grandmother telling him, but I've my gut tells me had to have known about the plan.
You know damn well he knew, because he's the one allegedly they say been talking to the feds or the investigators, that he feared his mother. She threatened him. Well, my grandmother told me, don't worry about it. Everything gonna be all right. That's in February.
Yeah, I hadn't heard all that.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Wicked.
There's no way I'm going to believe he leaves to go to rehab 8 days before these people go missing, and he had no knowledge that they were going to knock that lady off. If a 60-year-old knew, why the fuck would this man not know? Excuse my language.
Right, exactly.
Think about it. She's a child listening to the plot in February, and you're the son, and you wouldn't know. So then you got to ask yourself now. Let's go really deep now. What did she tell her mother? Because the mother is in his ear saying, oh, your mom said, don't worry about it. Everything going to be all right.
Yeah. Jeez.
What are we hearing that other people in Oklahoma knows about the plot? Because right now I'm at 8 people. That's 8 too many.
Yeah, but I don't think it goes much further than that. I honestly don't. I mean,
are you sure?
Well, I mean, no, I'm not sure. I have no idea. But
I'm a hard nose, but I'm good. See,
yeah, you
what
are.
I try to do with people is I try to make people think that sometimes what you think you're seeing, you're not seeing, and what you think you're hearing, you're not hearing. That sometimes that you think you got it all figured out, you don't. this story is, as I said, with many true crime cases, it's way deeper than just somebody had a fight about some kids. It's way deeper.
I know. And
Because
especially when it gets
he's
involved
trying to blame his mother and say, well, she's been mean to me and yelling and hollering and screaming. Who's to say he already knew about the plot? He's trying to wiggle his way out as a co-conspirator as well.
Yeah, he will. He will for sure. If it, no doubt in my mind, but and I think that maybe the DA, the prosecutor, and all that stuff. I mean, when it goes really deep like this and involves different organizations and things like that as well. I mean, they're only going to catch whoever they can catch. They're not going to go try to catch every single, tie up every loose end or whatever. They can't. They don't have the don't have the resources to do that. And if they can put those 4 people in prison for life or give them the death penalty or whatever, that's a win for them.
Yeah.
I'm
going to read Prismo's comment. Hold on one second. Rehab is hiding him, or at best removing him away from this complicated situation so he isn't able to make statements or comments to perhaps manipulate witnesses and lawyers. Because as I said, when you count the date of the charge, it's like March 7th or something like that. He goes to court. And then he goes into rehab, which is 2 weeks after that, the 7th to the 22nd. That's like 2 weeks. So we've got the 7th, then we've got the 22nd. You go to rehab the 22nd, poof, voila, 8 days later, 2 women are going missing. It's too convenient.
Yeah.
Also, this group who say they don't have any involvement, I'm straddling the fence. You opened the group right before the disappearance as well. Checkmate. Oh, I've done my homework.
I see that.
So as I was saying to, So as I was saying to Danielle, not to be argumentative, but see, I like to push people to show you it can go either way. They could be lying for them. They could have already met with these people, talked to them, and lied and said, oh, nope, that ain't us. Or it could be they don't know them. But I find it interesting when you go to Facebook and pull up their profile, they just opened that damn Facebook page right before.
Or the other option is that's true. It could be either one of those things, or it could be that law enforcement knows that it goes deeper and everything, but they're not going to open that can of worms. They're going to just
exactly, because when
they're going to focus on what they can convict, or what they can take to trial.
When I went and looked at the Facebook page last week, right? I went day 1, day 2. In 2 days, the few little people had jumped almost 300 people.
Following them or being part of the group?
Being followers.
You mean followers on social media or followers in the real group?
Followers on the Facebook page.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because no fool is going to tell you, yeah, I know them. Yeah, I made contact with them. That's easy to say. I just tie everything in by dates because numbers is, proficient. Dates do mean something in life.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie.
So when you start looking at everything in the storyline, we've got people meeting up from February up until the women went missing March 30th. We've got a Facebook group that you're saying has nothing to do with it, started right before the women went missing. We've got 5 of the children going to rehab 8 days before. It's too coincidental. Yes, it is.
Yeah, but you know what?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And hopefully, and maybe, all this grandma and these 4 5 now, I guess, that were really involved in the whole thing. I mean, but I don't think the numbers are going to go up. I mean, that's just my prediction.
But I believe it is more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
The grandmother knows. I believe you have 5 in custody that know. You have a daughter that knows, Miss Twombly, that's 6. The grandmother 7. The son 8. I won't doubt she's in the pocket with the social worker. That is 9. Now, as I had said before, if you can get 4, you can get 8. If you can get 8, you can get 12. If Jim Jones had damn near 500-600 people jumping, drinking Kool-Aid, you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, You think they got it depends on, what the DA has the heart for,
Just like the guy who went to the news talking about Tad being a good guy and he rents his property to
Yeah.
him. See, you have no idea if he's a part of the group and he knew about the plan. That's the point I'm trying to make to everybody.
Okay,
You
that's
really
10.
don't know how deep this whole goes because he's too dry in his commentary. Oh, all the people, these are good people around here. Well, sir, you already got 4 arrested. So who are you speaking of?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your definition of good? Jeez.
That's my point. You say, well, don't judge everybody that's related to them. Sir, you have 4 individual thinking minds who have killed 2 women. And then you, in the same breath, want to say, oh, well, don't judge their relatives. 4 is too many out of a small town. Don't give a damn what nobody says.
Yeah, that's crazy. 4 people, 1 mind to do an evil act.
And I believe in my spirit, it's more than 4.
Yeah.
It's way more than 4. Because you're talking about a child having knowledge. So ain't no way in my right mind. If a child knew, you better believe other people knew.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Other people knew. Because you were too free. Think about it. You walk into a stranger's house and you don't even make sure that there's nobody ear hustling.
Right.
That means you're free with the venom. So now think about you walking into the Ace Hardware, the Piggly Wiggly. I hate that bitch. She makes me sick. I want my grandkids. See where I'm going? And nobody's paying attention. Oh, that's just old crazy ass Miss Adams. Don't pay her no mind. Wish she was dead.
I'm going to kill her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now imagine sitting around a round table with 16, 20 people in a room and they know about the plot.
Wow. But you know what? I'm telling you, if I was if I was a district attorney and if I was the prosecution, I would have to, reel it in somehow, because you lose control of your case if you're just trying to prosecute the whole town or whatever.
Oh, well, we know you can't prosecute the whole town because this is how I look at it. You go where the evidence goes. So if the evidence goes to 5 more people, 10 more people, then that's where the hell you take it. That's where the hell you take it.
In an ideal world, that would be great. That would mean the justice system is doing its job, right?
Yeah. Because what's going to be scary is if indeed this is bigger than what we think, and there are other people, it is a group, and they have plotted to do other misdeeds.
And if they have certain ones.
Somebody was at the state capitol building, not the state capitol, but the district attorney's office in Oklahoma. I don't know if it has anything to do with this case. And they had the damn parking lot roped off a week or 2 ago. I thought that was odd.
I wonder why. Do you know why?
And I haven't heard. I don't know.
Yeah, because the thing is, if it goes too deep and it starts, involving the law enforcement or CPS and officials and things like that, they're not going to go after that. They're not. And that's the problem with the justice, why justice is not really justice, because there's corruption. If there's corruption there, I mean, how do you weed that out while you're trying to convict 4 people of murder?
Well, and that's where the FBI and CIA comes in. Because once it's bigger than just, Bubba and Susie Mae and Dick in court, then I have to call in Washington, D.C.
Oh my gosh.
State police. Yeah. Because it's going to be too much to handle once I start talking about more than 4 people. You got to think about local resources. This is where the state police, which is, Oklahoma has state police. Now we got to call in state police and the FBI because we've got a real problem. And
next thing you know, you get bumped off.
Find out that you do have an underground group of people who are meeting and talking and plotting to do just God knows any damn thing. Because you don't know these people. And I'm just a realist. I go back in the book of life and I think about all those cults that went on back in the 70s and 80s where you had thousands of people. There's no way you can't now sit up in your head and say, well, I don't think it's more than 4 or 6 or 8. you have 1,000 people following somebody and giving up their worldly goods, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
if I can easily talk you into giving me your bank account, leaving your children with me, you watching me touch your children inappropriately, rape your children, you would also murder.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Absolutely.
So
I mean,
it's
it
been
leads
done.
to that. That's what it leads to,
Yeah, so that's what I'm
unfortunately.
saying. It can be done. As I just told you, when I went to look at that following on that page, didn't have a lot of followers, but then when I went back the next day, more people started following the page just probably from the story breaking. May not mean they actually believe in what they're talking, but they want to see what they're saying.
Right.
But all you need is 10, 15 in there that's with the rhetoric.
Yeah, you just need that weak-mindedness that's going to want to jump in and be part of the group.
But we're part of Jesus. We're promoting Jesus. We're promoting
Misunderstood.
badass
They're just
Jesus lovers.
misunderstood.
Badass Jesus lovers.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, let's get to Sade Robinson. Blood not found in the Maxwell home.
Yeah, I think he killed her in the car, or or what if he took her to what if he killed her in the house or something, wrapped her up, like say in that tarp or something like that, put her in the car, drove to the lake, chopped her up at the lake side,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there would be no blood anywhere. They found her body parts in the lake, right? Some of them.
Well, the torso and the leg came up last weekend, Friday
Yeah.
or so, and then before that, the body parts were in the park.
Yeah, in the park by the lake, or is it a different park?
I can't remember. Just some different parks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he
was going back and forth. They got him on camera.
Yeah,
he's going back and forth. He's using her car.
He's cooked. He's cooked. That guy is cooked.
Drop your body part here, then jump back in the car. Then go run over here to this part, drop a body part. So he's on camera. He's been seen leaving the car after pops open fire. So he's cooked. He's roast.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they got a lot of evidence on him, even though they don't have. But now I think that obviously, maybe he's killed other people, right? Because there's somebody else's blood in that house,
and there's blood on a comforter, which is very sick. Because now you got to say you're walking up and down your own stair landing, looking at blood. You're smelling the blood. You're also sleeping under a dirty comforter.
Yeah, no, gross. Ugh.
But if your mind is demented, it's okay. Think about Jeffrey Dahmer. He's walking in an apartment every day with, testicles and penises and boxes and drums. And you walk about a drum every day knowing it stinks to high heaven.
I know. Oh, God.
What's that thing with Gacy? He's sitting right above the guys and boys in the trenches. He's immune.
Yeah. Yep.
Immune.
Yep. Well, who knows? I mean, maybe they dig up around his house and find bodies.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Lord Jesus, I didn't think about that.
I just feel so bad for her mama because, she's like, oh, we're not going to rest until we have all her parts. I don't think they'll ever.
She's not going to be able to have an open casket. The only thing you can do is a cremation.
Yeah. I mean, and who would want one? I wouldn't want my family member, my precious daughter in an open casket.
But you can't have an open casket because right now we just got a torso and probably a leg and a leg.
I know. So it's like Lacey Peterson or something.
Yeah. Well, and right now that's breaking news as well with Mr. Scott Peterson trying to get evidence to get a new trial. How do you feel about him getting a new trial? That possibly he is not the killer, that some people had robbed someone and there was a mattress in a van and there was blood on that. So they were trying, I guess, get that tested to see if it belongs to Lacey.
I followed that case all those years ago. And I remember when they found that van and they looked at that van and they said it didn't have any evidence of Lacey being in that. Now this organization that comes up and they try to
mattress, but did they test the mattress? Because think about this: if I have an ironclad case against Mr. Peterson, so I think, would I test the mattress? Think about it. Probably not.
I think this whole thing about a retrial for him came about because of
Listen,
his sister.
If they tested the mattress, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. We wouldn't. But
Yeah.
I think
That's been already eliminated. This case don't have nothing to do with this robbery. Has nothing to do with them. With this
okay,
woman.
well then let them retest it. I personally don't think. I think that there was enough evidence of that he did it. I think the evidence is overwhelming, and I think
especially the toolkit after the fact. Why are you dyeing your hair? Why do you got $20,000 or $30,000 on your persons? Why are you trying to get this woman to meet you? Because you knew she talked and you want to get rid of her, the girlfriend, Amber.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously, in my mind, I mean, I think that there was plenty of evidence that showed that he did it. Now, if they didn't, test the blood or whatever, they're only human. They knew he did it, and so they focused on him
and that's
and
what I was
giving
thinking.
all the evidence.
What they do, right.
On him. But now all these years later, these organizations come around and they're like, oh, let's free these guys on death row or whatever, give them another trial. That's
That's just like the Innocent Project, where the guys say, I didn't commit the crime, right? And then the Innocent Project investigates, and then they bring back evidence to shows for the rape kid or whatever, or evidence that they have. Oh, sir, that is your DNA. But they
I mean, it's just
have nothing to do. So
it's opening up
attention.
Yeah, and it's just opening up old wounds for everybody, and I mean, he's already off of death row. I mean, he was on death row. Now he's not even on death row. He just has life. Now he gets a new trial.
So he has free time. He has a lot of free time.
Come on.
He's not in confinement.
Come on.
So he has a lot of free time. So, this goes to what I said about how a lot of men and women reach out to these organizations. They already know that they're guilty, but they'll go ahead and let the people waste their resources and time and paper shuffling to give the verdict that was already given.
That's like letting giving OJ another trial or something. Come on.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about OJ passing away?
I don't know. I feel bad. I lived in LA, in West Hollywood when that happened. So I wasn't very far from where Nicole was killed. And it was big stuff. And let's see. I mean, I believe obviously the same. I believe there's a lot of evidence. I think that he did it.
Okay.
I believe that he did it. I think that the police department made a lot of mistakes, and well, for one thing, they should never have put Mark Furman on the stand. And they told Marsha Clark, don't put him on the stand because he doesn't have a good reputation. He's not a good cop.
When they released those tapes of him calling, using the N-word 30, 40 times, that just tainted his persona, the police department, because the LA Police Department did not have a good reputation in the community, in the urban neighborhoods with Black people, Hispanic. And then people didn't know that behind the scenes, the jury were at odds with each other. So you count a famous person who's hadn't been in no, major trouble except for just, beating up his wife, but, nothing nefarious as murder. Then you got this dirty cop. You've got the attitude of the police department that people don't trust them. And then you've got the people behind the scenes. Because when I watched the ESPN version, the movie, it was very enthralling to see that they were actually at each other's throats. And a lot of people didn't know that those people were falling out with each other.
About what?
About the case. They were tired.
You mean they couldn't agree?
Yeah, they were tired. They were tired of sitting there with each other. They were tired of bickering back and forth with each other. They had, in the movie, from my understanding, if it's true, one of the guys was jumping on top of the damn table, screaming and hollering at it was that volatile, they said. So I think it was to the point where they said, just vote already to let him go so we can go home.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I feel like, the community, the Black community in LA was, they were already injured, psychologically and emotionally.
Rodney.
Yeah. And so, I think OJ just got lucky, the timing of it all.
He got a bad cop. He got already tainted police department. Don't trust them. Then you got, like you said, all the people going back and forth, bickering with each other about, vote this, vote this. Everybody's at odds. And then, that's the worst thing you can have in a trial is when the jury people are battling each other behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And they're tired. They're ready to go home. They're missing their pay. Hell yeah, a person will vote anything. I started wondering about Casey Anthony. Is that the issue? You all got tired of all the different versions in court. You all just said, let her go. We don't
because
know.
They couldn't.
Bogus.
It's possible. But, I think that OJ, it does make me sad. It makes me sad that he was a bad guy. He ended up, because everybody wanted to love OJ. We wanted, everybody rooted for OJ.
That was the problem with, I think, why they went on and gave him freedom, because it's just like anybody. You didn't really hear anything about OJ. The only people that knew that he had an issue was just the local police department and the wife at the time, Colin. But as far as the world, we didn't know he was beating that lady up. You see what I'm saying? So all we know is this guy that ran through the airports. He's a great athlete. That's all we knew. And that's what people do. They trust the image because that's all I got. Now, I start hearing these crazy things about you. I've got to decide, do I believe them? Do I believe them? Then I've got a crooked police department. Then I've got a dirty cop that loves to call people nigger. Oh, hell no. I ain't getting ready to convict this black man.
Yeah.
Even if
it's not so much that they didn't think that OJ did it. It's that they wanted to convict the police department, basically.
Maybe.
They wanted to take down the authority because, like I said, the community, the Black community was in pain at that point.
Yeah, what they did to Rodney King was just despicable.
It was, oh my goodness. It was,
and he never was right after that. That's why he started getting in trouble, still using the drugs, drinking, or whatever he was doing, because that would take a person's mindset to be brutally beaten by the people who are supposed to uphold the law.
Yeah. But OJ went on after he was freed or whatever, after the acquittal, what if I did it, the book, and
that was wrong.
All that kind of stuff. He was so proud of himself.
He was toying with people.
He was, and that was evil on his part too.
Let me share something with you all. There was some information that they showed him talking. And I watched it maybe 2 years ago, and because there's so many documentaries out about him, and I've been keeping up with some of them. They're really good, especially A&E has done a damn great job with showing the burglary tapes and all that. If I were you, I'd check it out if you get bored. You just want to see the people that were involved in the case. There's a lot of hanky-panky with that. I never trusted the guy who set the meeting up. I think he's a dog, and I think he was in it for himself. I don't trust that guy. But anyway, there was a point where OJ was talking, and that was the first time I really felt empathy, and it scared me because I was like, "You're a right fighter, and you try to, not, ride on somebody that possibly killed, a woman and her friend." And even when I was watching the trial as a young person, I was straddling the fence, like, "Damn, this evidence don't look good." And then I started hearing the other evidence they had against, that I didn't remember, and it looks like, yeah, he did this. But when he was talking, in this documentary, where he's pleading for himself, and I was just like, I felt bad. And I was like, why are you feeling bad? Well, you know in your heart that this man has killed these two people, but that's the charm, you see. Because I've dealt with people like OJ. You see what
that's the pathology.
So I know what they can do to put on the charm and be like, I'm dealing with this and I'm going through this. And they make you forget about what they have done. But the law says he didn't, because 12 people said, no, he didn't do it. Even if the evidence looked like he did, but still 12 people said no. So that's the charm. You understand?
Yeah.
To him talk, his
Yeah.
voice, where he's pleading and he's talking about his life. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but it's just like I felt some pity for him. And I had to check myself, and I was like, this is the same person that has gotten away with stuff for the very reason why you sit here feeling sorry for him in this after the fact commentary. That's how he looped that girl into a marriage.
That's a quality of a cult. That's a quality of a cult. You know,
she broke up with him. They do, and that's why I want you to watch those burglary tapes, because going back, you know, the repeating stuff I don't remember, because you're talking about 30-something years ago. You know, it's a long time to try to remember everything verbatim.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is this: OJ killed Nicole because Barbieri broke up with him that morning. That's pretty deep. She left him a voicemail. So when you go back and watch those burglary tapes, they're going to take you to the civil suit with the Browns and the Goldmans. You get to hear OJ in a light you ain't never heard, because they're asking him verbatim his relationship with Nicole. So when you start seeing that side of him, that's like, okay, you're starting to piss me off with these questions, you start to see that seething side that you didn't get to hear in the trial. You see where I'm going? Because he didn't testify. So in the civil suit, you get to hear OJ respond to questions about Barbieri, her sending the voicemail that morning, his attitude that day, his attitude with Nicole, the pushing, the shoving, him saying, I am responsible for the bruises you saw in those pictures. But you see him glazing over it, not saying, oh, yeah, I punched her. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
I'm responsible, but he never says, oh, I hit her in the eye, I hit her in the head. You see where I'm going? Yeah, I strangled her. Yeah, I choked her. He's never going to say that. So this is where you get to see the real OJ on film, on camera, and audio. It's chilling to watch.
I have to watch it. I haven't. I have not. I did not follow that part where, you know, the Las Vegas stuff.
That stuff wasn't released years ago.
Right.
You just knew that they wanted the civil suit. The tapes have been released so you could see him visually answer the questions. And at one point you see him telling them, you know, basically, hey, I've had enough of the questions. He told the lawyer, I need a break. They were breaking him down, that lawyer for the Goldmans. Because he kept asking him the same question. Even I was getting annoyed, like, okay, how many times do you keep asking the same damn question? But he said that was his tactic. He says, I keep asking the question over and over. I'm going to ask it different ways because this is how I'm going to break him. Because
Poking the bear, huh?
Frustrated. I know he's going to get angry. And even I was saying, my God, how many times is he going to keep asking the same damn question over and over, over and over? He said, I did that deliberately.
Wow.
Because I knew it would get under his skin to keep asking him about, well, how did she get the injuries? And you didn't hit her, you didn't push her, you didn't shove her. So basically, OJ is like, well, we wrestled. But no, I didn't hit her. How she got the marks? Oh, yeah, I'm responsible. But what you don't hear is him saying, yes, I hit my wife at that time. He would not admit that he hit her. It's really scary watching it and then thinking that this is the same guy that killed those people. There was something I did remember about the sunglasses. You know, we've talked about that on my channel. You know, why was Ron there? Why are you the one taking her to sunglasses? Did they have an affair? Were they using drugs? You hear OJ talk about all of that. He's, you know, they show you the photographs of the glasses. They were there on the ground.
Yeah, they were on the ground in a white envelope, right? They were in an envelope.
Yeah, and I didn't remember none of that because that's been so long ago. So you get to go back in time. And then when they take you back and start talking about all that stuff, the burglary, everybody's commentary on what happened that day at the hotel, the crime scene, you get to finally put it together. And it's overwhelming. The DNA, the hair, you know, naturally, my understanding was that it was just African-American hair. It wasn't necessarily, it was OJ's hair, you know, in the cap. But then you got the mixture. You can't explain that. And then, like they said, the detectives who came on the scene, how were they supposed to get the blood over to the house? You see what I'm saying? To put on the car, inside the car. Naturally, when you lock your car door, so how would they have gotten in? So then you got to ask that. When the cops went to the house, was the Bronco door locked or unlocked? So you start going back in time to piece it together to try to make it make some sense. It's really it's deep. It's
It
really
is deep.
It
But
is deep.
bottom line, do you think he did it right?
Yeah.
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 And and I watched I forget what, it's a YouTube channel, but there's a guy that is interviewing, he interviewed Caitlin,
Yeah.
and he
Okay. Yeah.
interviewed Phil Van Natter. Did you see that one? It's
Uh,
recent.
I don't
And
know. I
they're
just saw
talking
what he's talked about giving his condolences to the family. That's it.
Well, there's a interview with the detective too, Phil Van Natter, and he, they were just bringing out, there was a lot of evidence that wasn't even allowed at the trial,
And that's something, and let me talk about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. This is the reason why one of the jurors from the Scott Peterson case has come forward to say, yes, I voted guilty, but if there is evidence that will exonerate Scott, I want it out, because how would that be fair to let him be in prison if he didn't kill, his wife and the baby? Because he's saying that's the thing about a jury trial. You only get what they give you. So he says, what if there's evidence, whether it was this trial or any other trial, that people didn't get to hear that could have exonerated or convicted the person? So I understand that point of view. Because at first I was kind of down at him about, when he first came out and started talking, but I understand what he's saying. A trial is just that. And I talk about perception. If I don't get everything, then what am I basing my opinion on? I can only base it on what you brought to me.
I know, but every trial, you can't get every bit of evidence in. No.
We can't make no excuses. Are you hiding evidence? That's where I'm going. Because
I see.
In cases, the district attorney has hid shit. And I don't condone that.
No, of course not. I mean, I because everybody's looking for the truth. Everybody wants the truth.
So that's that's where I'm leaning my opinion on. If you willingly hid shit that you thought was going to keep that person free, then you're wrong for that, because you don't have a right to do that.
I agree with that.
So that's what I mean by evidence not brought forward. You hid stuff that you knew could get the person off, such as like testimony. Somebody called and said, I saw such and such over at the park, but you got evidence allegedly saying they were at the crime scene.
But think about it. How could Lacey have been in that truck and been in his boat and, be found in the bay where he was? And,
I understand
you know what I'm saying? I think it's a long shot. I understand what you're saying about if you're withholding evidence.
Something, this is how you can get shit overturned and a fucking murderer can walk free. That's my point. This is what you don't want. You don't want something to come back biting you in the ass.
That's true. I know.
Anthony. Oh, well, maybe
I know.
Butcher Baker did it. When nobody in the right mind would believe that damn utility worker, how would he get access to a baby and the blanket and the canvas bag?
Right.
Bags in the garage. There's no way this random ass utility worker had access to your house. But
no way.
Diaz did what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to plant reasonable doubt, and he did it. And he was exceptional. And he was able to make 12 stupid ass people vote to send her home.
Yeah. But I don't think, this is one thing. I was listening to something else today. It's like, attorneys, like defense attorneys, like in Koberger's case and everything, like the stars, he went out to look at the stars and, really, I really don't think that.
And that's not an alibi.
No. And I don't think that attorneys or even defense attorneys, I don't think that they should be allowed to, lie for their client or make up lies as a defense, Same with the prosecution, because it's all about the truth, right? Isn't it? And if it's not, then it's not a justice system.
This, to me, this situation with Koberger is a prime example of you baiting the system to get paid. Nobody can make me believe that Annie is not milking the system, because a lot of people don't know how much she actually makes by sitting behind that desk defending Koberger. Let me tell you, right now, when she is done defending him, she could actually retire off the pay. Are you understanding what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
She's making a lot.
But that's not even the worst of it.
I mean a lot. So think about this. What better way for me to milk the system is by making up this bullshit that keeps tying up the court, tying up the time. That's what she's doing, in my opinion. She's tying and buying his time and also milking her pockets because they are paying her to stay hourly to do this bullshit that she's doing, which is this stargazing bullshit and putting stuff off. Every day you put off his trial, that's another day of payment from the state and the taxpayers in Annie Taylor's pocketbook. And I don't really think people are getting it. Corbett knows 9 times out of 10, he's going to die in prison. He's going to be found guilty. He'll probably die by a firing squad. Flip. Annie knows the more I hold it out, he gets more time to go to court and look cute and blink and do all this crazy shit. And I get to put more money in my pocket. It's really about Annie. He knows,
and I don't think she should be allowed to do that. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think that's corruption, in my opinion, and I don't think she should be allowed.
It dawned on me recently. I said, this isn't about Kohlberger. This isn't about Kohlberger. This isn't about no alibi. Because the alibi, you had people sitting here waiting to hear, oh my God, he's got an alibi. And then this is what you come up with, stargazing. That's not an alibi.
It's so
That's no different
dumb.
than saying I was sitting in the middle of the field looking at the cows graze or sleep. What were you doing at night? Oh, I was watching the cows.
No, I sat outside watching the grass grow.
Oh, that's my point. Okay, so this is, to me, it's about Annie. Annie knows they are paying me top dollar to defend this motherfucker. I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. Every hour I sit in here, I'm making several $100 an hour or $1,000+ to sit here. She knows exactly what she's doing. She will be a millionaire when she gives her closing statement. And I want people to know that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
she will
agree.
be a millionaire. I can't remember the actual dollar amount, but when I read it, I almost passed out. Matter of fact, let's
and I just don't know why they allow. Why do they allow that to occur?
Because it's
You
a
know,
death
it's
penalty
like,
case. This is why she's getting that kind of money, because it's a death penalty case.
yeah, but
This isn't
I
your
mean, I just
standard
don't think
case.
that an attorney should be allowed to do that. I think there should be, limits. And yeah, it's just like, that's ridiculous. She shouldn't be allowed to just milk it like that. The guy needs to, what about having a speedy trial? That's going by the wayside now.
I don't want a speedy
these
trial
days.
because I want the money, and he wants to be able to sit in the courtroom and not have. You have to remember, if it's a speedy trial, I'm not going to get this chance to be back in the courtroom and get freedom from my prison cell. So, see, it's a win-win for both of them.
Yeah, but it is a
win-win.
manipulation of the system, right?
How much is Ann Taylor making to defend Brian Kohlberger? Hold on. $200 per hour. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Other costs associated with the case are not being made public. Latau County District John Judge recently responded to a reporter's public record request asking about the total costs associated with the ongoing Kohlberger case. So you do the math. So here's what they're paying. According to an order from the judge, Taylor was appointed to represent Kohlberger public expense. She's entitled to payment at a rate of $200 per hour. Jay Logston, also the public defender's office, is entitled to an hourly rate of $180. Other costs are not public record. So here we go. In September, Latau County commissioners approved a sizable increase in the county's trial expenses as a result of the long and complicated Kohlberger case. Prosecutor Bill Thompson requested $135,000 for trial expenses, a significant jump from the $15,000 that has been consistently budgeted for that purpose in previous years. Kohlberger's trial, which was initially scheduled for October 2nd, 2023, was postponed indefinitely after the suspect waived his right to a speedy trial. A new trial date has not yet been scheduled. This is by the Daily News, uploaded March 3rd, of this year. Now you see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I
what started
do.
off as 15,000 by the state rose to 135,000 per request from the district attorney,
Yeah, I
Bill
mean,
Thompson. So you're talking about a lot of money.
mm-hmm.
What 15,000 to 135 Bill Thompson requested for expenses. And so we got the defense making $180 to $200 an hour. Now
Mm-hmm.
imagine sitting and giving the state your timesheet that you've worked 8 hours or more at $200 an hour. You do the math.
Yeah, and you know, that kind of a stupid alibi to go with it.
Yeah, because right now, this finally goes to trial another 2 years or whatever. You got to count how much money she's made. Then you got to count what she's going to do when she's done. She's going to go talk to people. She's going to make a book. She's going to do all type of things. She'll be a
Make more
multi-millionaire
money.
off of the backs of 4 dead kids.
Yeah,
And Mr.
it's
Corler.
sad.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is sad. So you have to admit this is a grand hustle for Miss Taylor.
Yeah, I do admit that. It's
It's sad.
unfortunate. And I follow the you know, Kate, what's her name? Kaylee Gonsalves or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Her family's Facebook page. Her mom and dad's Facebook
Yeah, I
page, and
heard they
they
spoke recently about his alibi. I haven't heard what they said.
yeah, they said they just, you know, they just said that they're so disappointed
couldn't
that
find anything
they've
on it.
had to wait all this time for that. You know, that's not an alibi, but they said that, you know, whatever, just, you know, they just say, basically, you know, play whatever games you're going to play because eventually this guy's going to fry, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they can say, but they're heartbroken. I mean, the mom is still having, I mean, she has nightmares and, you know, she still has nightmares and wakes up screaming and crying. And
Yeah.
sometimes she has good dreams, you know, and she'll write about like, oh, last night I dreamt about, you know, Kaylee or whatever. And,
it's a very scary case because, as I said, when you deal with the perception of true crime, it's about blind trust because you see, everybody's had to trust somebody in life. You're going to have to continue to trust somebody until you leave here. So you take for granted the basic things you do in life, such as waking up in your bed, waking up in your house, being able to walk outside, go to your car, get on the bus, train. Now, imagine tonight when you get off this live stream, you'll probably watch TV or go to bed, get ready to go to work, whatever you do. You're not assuming that when you lie down and go to sleep that there'll be somebody breaking into your house to snuff you out. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
You're not thinking that you go get in your car and somebody will rob you outside of your car, or somebody be
Right.
lying in wait in your car or underneath your car. You're not thinking that when you go to work that somebody will drive by and shoot your car up. You don't think that when you go to work tomorrow and park your car, there'll be somebody in the parking lot lying in wait to rob you, hurt you, kill you. You're not thinking when you go walk into work and clock in that somebody's going to decide to shoot the whole damn room up. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
It's called blind trust. You let the plumber come in to come see what's wrong with your kitchen sink. You don't think that when you turn your back that he's going to turn around and start strangling you and beating you to death.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in. You have to trust somebody. You don't know the hour that the boogeyman is going to come in and snuff you out. And that's what's so scary about living. I think about it all the time, you know, as being a single person,
Right.
being alone, that is dangerous, you know, because I know I'm in transition right now to be, leaving the place where I'm living. And I remember I've been giving some things to these Hispanic people. And one of the guys who was helping me take some stuff out, he had made a comment walking back to the apartment. He said, who do you live with? And I thought you didn't know no English. That's what I was thinking to myself. You understand?
Yeah.
But see, you have to be aware.
On your toes all the time.
I'm giving things to your relative or whoever the girl is to you. Why are you asking me about who lives with me? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm moving out, think about it now. If I'm moving out, why would that question have any relevance?
Yeah.
I
I
want you
mean,
to think about that.
if he hasn't spoken to you before on any personal level, why would he ask that kind of a
Never
question,
has.
first question?
Never has. I showed them a
You
picture
know?
of the table that I was getting rid of. I was letting them know I needed help. They needed help to come get it out. So on our way on back to the apartment, you're asking me who lives with me. So I made sure to say, oh yeah, I've got such and such staying with me.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yeah,
people
that's weird.
will bait you because this is what criminals do. They double back.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? You've
Yeah.
already come in to get the table. You're looking around. You've seen what's in here. Now you need to know who stays in here. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Well, be careful, Queen.
And
I
this is
know
why
you
you
will
have to be
be.
careful. Oh, yeah, I'm careful. I watch and listen. Let me tell you something. The Queen got ears like a dog. Now, there's some days I listen to stuff I can't hear well, but let me tell you, I can hear noise coming either direction. I know if you're standing on the porch. I know if you're smoking a cigarette. Oh, it's keen the nose.
Good. That's good. I know.
Because like the way the apartment is set up, it's nothing but leaves, things. I'm going to hear you walking. I'm going to hear you when you stand outside the window. And you can best believe if I get up and I think you out there, I'm going to flip on that light to let you know I know you're out there. See, people don't think that you want to be aware, but you have to be aware. That's why I keep trying to tell people, and I try to tell women, especially living here in the South, we talk too much here in the South. We tell our business. We're always telling people about what's going on and what's happening. You have to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So when you have people coming in doing Xfinity, AT&T, and fixing stuff, you cannot be telling people that you're off today and nobody's going to be there and, oh, I'm by myself
Right.
all the time. You cannot do that.
I remember one time you said to, like, if you're out somewhere, don't be fumbling around at your car for the keys. Have the keys out.
Yeah,
You know,
yes.
and I always remember that, and I always try to do that because I was like, yeah, she's right about that. You know, it's like,
Because that's what a perpetrator is looking for. And I always like talking about these things, even though it's macabre. But this is why we have the crimes we have. The people are out looking for, number one, a victim. It's not it's those. People say it's random. It's not random to them. It's random. It's random to you as an outsider, but they know they're going to get somebody. So to me, it's not really random if they knew that's what they had plans to do. When they got up and got ready that night, put on their ski masks, their shoes, their clothes, it was going to be somebody. And that's what people need to understand about the Korberger case. If it had not been for the four at the house, it was going to be somebody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Eventually, you don't think it's random, but it was going to be somebody. Just like with a serial
because it was built
he
and it was
chooses who
building
he
up.
wants. Yeah, it's going to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with a sadist. It's all about opportunity. So even if you say, well, he had watched her go in her apartment a couple times, and what you don't understand is that's how it appears that it's random because he don't know her. But the point is, it's going to be somebody regardless because he has designed in his head, I'm going to offend. So it just so happened he chose the blonde-haired lady that lives, in apartment, 213. But the point is, if it wasn't 213, it was going to be somebody.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because he's already played it out in his mind over and over, and he's at the point where it's time to act.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so this is why I always pay attention to everything around me, wherever I am. And I always tell myself to be very careful when, having, a man come in the house, to fix something or talk about something. I want to make sure, I'm not scantily dressed. I'm not just sitting in just a gown without a house coat on. You have to think about all of those things. How you look when you open the door, what you got on when the plumber comes, the electrician comes, the AT&T guy come on. And it's not saying a person wouldn't still jump you in full clothes, but you don't want to give nobody no reason that you're sending a mixed message. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you will hear those types
I don't
of
even
things
walk around my own house without, some kind of cover up, because I mean, my husband.
They will stay in a sick person's mind. Those are things they'll even tell their attorney to say. Well, she had a low cut dress on when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, messing with her neck and that's all type of crazy ass shit.
I
I remember watching it on Oprah years ago. She had a pedophile on her show, and she was asking him, about what enticed him, to assault the little girl, whatever. She was on a swinging. Do you know what he said? She wanted me to do that to her. And Oprah was like, well, why would a child want you to touch her? I don't understand what you're saying. Well, what did she do or say to you for you to think that she wanted you to touch her? He said, well, when she was swinging on the swing, her dress kept flapping up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the dress is going to flap up and down because it's called gravity.
She's on a swing.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Something innocent as a child swinging in a swing in a dress.
Yeah, but in their mind, in their sick minds, that's
she was deliberately enticing him.
That's the green light.
To molest. Exactly. So that's my point. That what is done mundanely, because we learned this growing up in Chicago, never give eye contact on the train. Never give eye contact on the bus, because that quick glance sends a message to the sadist, okay, follow me home.
Yeah, that's scary.
Talking too much, being too catty, talking too much in the grocery store with the bad guy or the guy waiting in line. You don't know what could signal the wrong thing. So what starts out as, I'm in a great mood today. Hi, sir, how you doing? And next thing you know, now somebody's following you and you think you ain't thought another damn thing about that. So now we live in a world where you got to worry about what you say, what you don't say. You can't tell anybody things. This is why they tell you about social media. Same thing. I preach this shit all the time because nobody is listening. You've got to stop talking on that fucking box. Stop talking. Oh, 5 minutes, girl night. We're going out to such and such. We're going to Old Charlie's. Then we're going to go over to such and such. Well, now you just told somebody that you're not going to be home.
Yeah.
So now somebody's listening that you think's a nice Facebook friend, but he's really not so nice because he's got some deviant tendencies. So now imagine that guy who's watching you on Facebook, he now knows that you're going downtown for the night and you're going to be bar hopping. Now I know where she is. Oh, she's live now. You don't know he's standing outside. He's across the street watching. See, people don't pay attention to shit. Then guess what? Now he's at the bar and he just pops up. Hey girl, how you doing? And then you say, what you doing here?
Yikes. Oh no.
But you see how things can gravitate.
Yeah, Queen, it's serious.
That you're going live. Now somebody has followed you to the bar, followed you to the club. And you think it just so happened he's there by accident.
Nope. The
posting is dangerous. I can speak from personal experience. Just I do it, used to when I was going out and stuff. You're going live. How do you know the wrong person's not looking at your Facebook page?
Yeah, I don't do that, but I've tried to be pretty careful. I have Instagram and Facebook, basically, but I don't go live and I don't tell people. I used to say kind of like where I was or whatever, but my husband told me don't be telling people where we're traveling or you know.
Well, it's just not
like
good
that.
because we live in a world that you don't know who's watching. You don't know who really is not your friend. You don't know who doesn't like you. So that's the perfect opportunity for not just to say this, but just somebody who's really not your friend. And they now know that your house is unattended. And God forbid they know you don't have ADT. See where I'm going?
Yeah, I know. Or even if they don't hurt you, but like you said, I mean, they know that you're not home, so they can go in your house and rob you, or, maybe they're not even a friend. They're just somebody that just watches your page. They haven't
And that's
even.
what sadists do, because that's exactly what Korberger was doing with those girls.
Yeah. Like,
I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm trying to reach out to her. She's not answering, whoever the girl is. And now he's taking it personal. And let me tell you something else that's interesting. And I've said this before, and I might go back and do a live stream about Korberger again. The one thing is I tell people, nobody really pays attention to stuff that's sitting right there in their face. You don't find it strange that one of the victim's sister went to the same university that Korberger went to?
Yeah, that is weird. But
yeah. Think about that for just a second. While he's running over here to Moscow, stalking the girls, or whichever one, right? He's also at the same university with one of the girl's sisters.
No, it was the boys. Wasn't it the boy's sister?
No, honey. one of the victim's sisters, the dark-haired girl, her sister goes there to Washington State.
Are you talking about, okay, so there's Kaylee, there's Bethany, there's
The
the
blonde-haired
boy,
one, the one that died with the boyfriend.
yeah, the one that died with the boyfriend. Okay, oh, her
Her
sister?
sister goes to Washington State, yes, and she hasn't graduated already.
Oh, okay. I knew that there was a family member that went to
Yeah.
to Pullman with where he went.
Yeah, so see, that's what I'm trying to explain to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
See, I connected the dots because, as I said, everybody focuses on stuff that people just grill in the ground. I always tell people, no, look a little bit deeper than that. You don't know that he didn't stalk them from Pennsylvania.
That's true.
Because you always got to remember about Facebook, IG. What do they give you on those apps? Suggestions. The suggestions don't necessarily have to be somebody that knows me in Pennsylvania. See where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
The suggestions are just what they are, suggestions. So who's to say that when he was on IG, that he didn't find the girls when he was still in Pennsylvania? Because that was mentioned last year on News Nation, that the state believes that perhaps he was following the girls while he was still living on the East Coast.
Yeah, and possibly that could have been why he ended up applying to Pullman or something.
Exactly. And that would scare the fuck out of people if they knew that man had been watching those girls, or one of the girls, all the way across the country, applied to the master's program or whatever, doctorate program, all the way over to to the ocean, got accepted to be closer to his prey. I'm going to make her mine.
I mean, I believe that a person, a psychopath or whatever, or sadist, whatever, they would do that.
Exactly.
That's the
And
thing.
it's been done because one girl a few years ago was killed in Texas. Pretty girl. Her stalker came from Florida. He made his way all the way to Texas. He made his way in her house, her townhouse, and nobody can explain nothing because everybody was baffled. How the hell did he get all the way to Texas? Well, you can thank IG for that, because she did what most people do. They talk too much.
Mm-hmm.
You're posting personal stuff. You're posting what you did that day. It doesn't take a rocket science to put two and two
you're
together.
posting provocative.
Well,
those
all
girls.
All of that. So once I get your government name, that's where you have the problem. Once you post your government name, you are done.
Mm-hmm.
Because our good friend at Google has given people the luxury, plus the apps that let you go pay that little fee to look people up. So once you have those apps that can look people up, you can be found. The person can be actually sitting on your doorstep when you walk up. And that's exactly what he did. He found her, he broke into her house, and he lied in wait when she came home, because they show the struggle started like right near the landing that sits right in front of the door. So she was ambushed as soon as she walked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went upstairs and he wrote all these crazy love notes on the walls of his obsession with her. So he laid it out so the police could see, oh my God, this fool has been watching her, stalking her on IG, and found her, made his way from Florida all the way to Texas, broke in that apartment and was in there. But then the flip side was there was no breaking and entering. So now you got to say she let him in. Uh-oh. How about that?
Wow.
And then when you look at his picture, first thing everybody started doing was getting real scared. Wait a minute. If there's no breaking and entering, then how did he get in? Now you're looking at the fact she's this beautiful, beautiful girl. Why would she be attracted to this thing to let him in? Oh, shit. So now we're talking about, was it something more nefarious, such as money exchange? See where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I didn't even know nothing about that case. I haven't
Yeah,
heard anything about it.
that's what made this case turn around when they realized, I think, there was no breaking and entering. So now you got to figure out, how did he get in?
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't know you.
And
He
it all
doesn't live
came
in
back down to
Texas.
IG and stuff.
Huh?
It all came down to the social media.
Yeah, he found it on social media. So that means they've had to make some type of contact, because why would you open the door for a complete stranger unless you're just in the habit of opening doors?
Right.
And then
right,
you
right.
have people like that. Somebody knock and they don't even think, oh, open the door, like in the scary movies when the person they got company, then the company leaves, and then the knock, you hear a knock again, and then you go, oh, what did you forget?
Oh, yeah.
And then open the door. Hell no, I'm going back to the door. Pookie, is that you? Look, Ray, is that you? You have to do that.
You do. Gosh, you do. This day and age is terrible. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And you never
Wow.
open the door for people. The only time I open the door without answering is if I already know you're coming, but that's still dangerous, because there could be that one time when the person who said they're on the way, they're not the person on the other side of the door. And that's what Sadis is looking for.
I always tell my friends and stuff, I'm like, okay, well, text me when you're here. And
Right.
then, and I'll say, I'll text you when I get there. I'll text you that I'm here,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, because anyway, Queen, well, I'm going to have to go because I have, my battery is about
It's
like
3
2%.
hours. I know we've talked a long time. Thank you so much for coming, Yvonne.
Thank you. I love you. I think you're great. Keep up the good work.
We'll find something else crazy to talk about tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right, everybody. From the West Coast, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to check out here because I'm 3 hours in, and I did not plan to go this long. I'm almost 4 hours on this live. And Miss K will have to do this another time. But I thank you all for tuning into this network, liking, subscribing. Pass this information on this live stream to other friends. This was a 3-part live pertaining to Sade Robinson's blood not being in Maxwell Anderson's home. Did he put down tarp or plastic, unalive the young lady, wrapped her up to where he didn't leave any evidence, or did he unalive her inside of her vehicle and then dismembered her and discarded her body parts in the parks and Lake Michigan? Also, Paul Grice has been arrested as suspect number 5 in the gruesome murders of Miss Kelly and Miss Butler out of Kansas. They were found in Oklahoma on private land. And then Mr. Marquette Johnson, African-American male, who was arrested, charged, and now has a sentence of 30 years of sexual assaulting inmates that he was transporting via a van from state to state, different facilities. He has now received a 30-year sentence. Also, when he was talking to, I guess, the district attorney or court, he let it be known that he also assaulted 2 other women, which is very odd to me that a person would admit to that. Why would you admit to that? Because that would be easy reason to tack on more time. But he took a plea deal of 30 years. My understanding and the information that I read to you, that at least 15 women have come forward bringing allegations of sexual improprieties by Mr. Marquette Johnson. 44 years of age, he will possibly die in prison. They don't release him under the 30-year sentence. Take the polls on my community page, because I asked you, do you think that was the adequate sentence for the crime? I also mentioned other news stories in this live stream pertaining to Sebastian Rogers. I didn't get to finish playing that content during this live because other people, guests came up, but feel free to go into the queue to listen to my commentary about the close. I believe the close will tell you the story about Sebastian Rogers, if he made it home from the restaurant with his mother and or the pajamas. That is how you're going to get to the bottom of the story with this case. Did his father see the clothes that he wore that evening? Because if Katie can't provide those clothes, that would lead you to believe he never made it home. Number 2, The pajamas, you won't have proof of what pajamas he wore. She could easily make up anything and say, well, he was wearing this, this, and this. But one thing about a liar, they forget what they say. And imagine telling somebody, oh, they wore this black shirt, black pants. And then later you see the black shirt, black pants lying over in the hamper. So this is why I said, did he walk around the house? Did he inspect the boy's room, hamper, bathroom, tub, sink, toilet, his closet, under the mattress? Some people say, well, that's a lot to do in somebody's house. Well, that's my child, and I can go in their room and look at whatever the hell I want to look at, because you're talking about the disappearance of a child. So it's not you snooping around. The child is missing. I got a feeling, as I said, the truth lies with the clothes. If those clothes were not there that he was wearing on that Sunday evening, then that means Sebastian Rogers never made it home. And that means his caretaker is the culprit in his disappearance. And 9 times out of 10, the unaliving of him. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below. Comment on the post. Comment on the polls on my community page. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McGangie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for my guests who came up. Feel free to come hit the link. If not, I'll just be going live from my other device where you won't be able to hit the link, because many people just don't seem to want to come up and give their opinion. So I'll have to resort to just going live from the other device where I just talk to you in front of the camera and quip back with you in the chat. But thank you for your time. You have been listening to The Vault XL. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Thank you.